and we should be live from Norisring here for what should be the 4th round of this amazing DTM championship. So, here today it's the new commentator, I could say, Tits, of course. If you hear my voice, it's kind of different. It's of course because I got a little bit of a throat-ish, which I don't think it's even an English word, but we are here today to mix stuff up on the fly, as we can see. And we are on the Norisring, which is a very important DTM track, really, known for history, you know, many different races. Liam Lawson absolutely loved these tracks. I mean, probably he would have loved it a bit more if he didn't get, you know, killed in Tier 1, I think in 2020, what it was, 2021, 2022, maybe 2023, I'm not sure. But, you know, it's a track known for its twisty sections, very high, I don't know how to say this, it's not a curb, it's more like of a trackside walk, the walk side. I don't know the English word for that one, to be completely honest. And I don't know, probably something else as well, but that's mainly it. So, practice is currently underway. There's still 45 more minutes of practice before the race starts. And currently the grid isn't very packed, but we got the main contenders, so what's gonna probably be hopefully an exciting race, and if not then, well, just a race really with DTM cars. So, currently, leading the leaderboard, we got with a 47.6, yeah, it's a very short lap. Thomas Piccolo currently waving through the twisty section of this track. We have the map right on the top right of the screen. It's a very easy track, just a little bit of technical sections around the corners, and really just 2 braking points to keep in mind. But with these very tricky cars, if you haven't driven the DTM cars in Nesta Corsa, well, then I actually compliment you, because these cars are not really too fun to drive. I mean, they can be, of course, if you're into those kind of stuff, but they are very understeery, and I don't love understeer myself, so that's something to be said. Anyway, Thomas, as I was saying, leading currently the leaderboard with a 47.6, then a hopping whole second behind, actually a bit less than a second, but still with a very big deficit. We got Marty Sachs, I think it's called like that, yeah, I think it's Marty Sachs to be pronounced, hopefully I didn't get it wrong, the other agile teammate, who is currently lapping in the 48.3, so still a little bit of pace, but still showing his hand, and also going a bit wide here on the hairpin. I think he overloaded the front tires, which is something you don't want to do with an actually understeer machine. Then right behind him, kinda just 3/10 behind, we got 2-3 with his PO machinery. I don't know actually his team name, so I'm just gonna call him the Power, with a very familiar face on the side of the car. I'm not gonna say who it is, because someone from the Dufferschmidt's corporation could actually get a little bit triggered, but I think you know the name. And he's currently lapping, as I said, a little bit behind. Thomas actually getting still faster sectors. Not sure if he's trying with the qualifying, you know, setup of qualifying trim, or is just, you know, trying to find a little bit of pace, a little bit of space, a little bit of briefing, let's say, into this very twisty section. And then also on the server we got with a 48.9, so a little bit slower but still not too far away, Mikolaj Zukovic, or I think I'm just gonna call him Zuko, who is the teammate, of course, of 2-3. Also 2-3 just set a 48.1, so second place currently. And as we see him hitting the wall and letting, I think that's Thomas, and no, that's Marty Sachs with the 32 agile car. As he let him by, he gets into the last hairpin of the track, locks a little bit, and then tries to get into the power. As I said, these cars are very tricky to drive. Actually, if I go on board with him, with the helmet cam, we can see actually how maybe tricky they are, because if you don't have ABS, you can't really be, you know, too aggressive to the brakes. If these cars had any brake to begin with, which is quite a big if, really, because they don't brake as much as they should, really. And then you kind of have to contend with the understeer, which is very little, especially in fast corners, which thankfully are not on this track. Because otherwise, you have to contend with oversteer, which is something you get with no TC in the slow corners, because if you go onto second gear like it did, and go onto the pedal, you are absolutely sure that you will go actually on a 360 spin. Also, he got very much on the sidewalk there, which is, I'm not sure if it's something you should actually do with these cars, but yeah, and also very close and personal with the wall, which is also something you should probably not do. But still, a lap is a lap, and currently this lap was a 49.4, so a little bit before, actually a little bit slower than his, you know, best lap time of the session so far, but, you know, we are here to learn, we are here to find pace and so on, so currently it's still a very chill session, and we should be able to find more in the dying minutes of the session. So currently 4 drivers, don't know if any more will join. Likely I think there is someone from another team who will join, and that's because there's currently a battle going on in the championship between the Agile team, the Agile team, which is of course from Thomas Piccolo and Marty Sachs, and the OC Racing, which, if you haven't watched the Formula Alpha races, which are not broadcasted, so yeah, it's kind of difficult to be watching those. We're the guys driving with the OC Racing, so the BMW kind of livery, and they are very fast guys. Although it's kind of hard to brag winning a championship when you are racing, as a platinum in a league full of silver and bronze. But I guess everyone has its own bragging rights. So that being said, with Marty Sachs now trying to get close to the wall, which is also a place where I think I saw a clip recently of a car. I think it was a Lamborghini, getting the car behind him, which I think was Mikolov Zukovic actually, who actually hit the wall a bit hard and got his rear view mirror, completely detached from the car. It's still a very easy track, a very peculiar one, and also as you may have noticed, which is something quite cool, I gotta say, this track has personalized sideboards, let's say, for the event. Now, the main one are of course the TSRB ones, which are of course for the TSRB server, which should have the link in the description to join. So in case you wanna join this kind of races, you can. Just don't expect anything too crazy, let's say. But also has, for some reason, the Renault Cap, which, if you may wonder why are there, is because, as Thomas told me, there was a Renault Clio Cap here, way back in the in the server life, which just happened here, and because of that, they have still this version of the track with all the boards and everything. So cool stuff. Of course, we are not driving with Renault Clio, but still, it's a very nice thing to see, of course. Also, I've been wondering, is my cursor visible? Thankfully not, so you are not watching where I'm clicking. I can just do whatever I want, and I can absolutely get away with it, which is absolutely brilliant, to say the least. Now, other stuff to be said about these cars, of course, as Thomas goes for 47.1, currently the fastest time on the server. As we can see, the wind is going southwest, which should be, if the track is aligned up there, giving a tailwind, a little bit of tailwind on this little straight here before the only 2 corners of the track. Also, you can see the Linus Tech Tip board on that building, which is also something to keep in mind. But yeah, what can I say? There's a bit of wind. Track side, I don't know how much grip they have. Usually the track doesn't start with 100% grip, but it should ramp up a little bit while going ahead. And as Thomas once again gets very close to the wall, he tries to find maybe a little bit of time more. Not sure, it's not an improvement seeing the sector times, but as he goes on to the finish line, yeah, he's at 0.7 slower than his personal best. And also there's a crash. I think that's 2-3, is it? No, I think that's Tsuko, who's currently a little bit off the track on the only cross I could find on a street circuit, which is kind of impressive if you ask me. Trying now to get maybe the tires a little bit cleaner and maybe try to find a little bit more pace under the guys and the sight of the incredible Linus Tech Tips. So, more things to be said. In case you didn't know, these cars tend to have a thing called the DRS, which is the big-ass rear wing you can see on the rear of the car. There's only one DRS sector here on this track, which should be around these 2 corners here, so on the main straight mainly. And that's about it. If you're wondering how can I know that, is because on the main track map, actually I'm gonna write that, you can see this green dot right here. Actually I'm gonna pull some arrows to be completely sure that you don't miss the point, which is absolutely important, which should point out where the DRS zone starts. So the main straight should all be a DRS zone. Now that's fantastic for qualifying and practice, because that means you can actually, open the DRS, go faster on a straight, and that's absolutely brilliant. However, in the race you cannot do that, because if you follow Formula 1, you will know that they don't open DRS every time they are on track. And that is due to the fact that, of course, DRS has to be used only where you are following the car ahead. So in this case, of course, it's not with just 1 second gap, but it's gonna be, I think, a 3-second gap. As the leaderboard got a little bit bugged out, we got the first OC racing on the server, which is Max Verstappen, to not be confused with the actual Max Verstappen, which is an actual fast driver compared to this one. But he is here to race for the OC Racing, which, as we said, is kinda fast. Also, I'm kinda noticing that there's a... wait, what is that? Let me just check something real quick. Crash first lap equals gay. Okay, I didn't watch that sign just at the start, but I just noticed here, and it's funny because of course the Renault billboard is covering it in half, and now we can just read gay, which is kind of funny. Anyway, as Thomas still is keeping his fastest lap time with 35 minutes left to go in the session, and as I explained, we have the DRS. Another thing we have with the DTM cars, of course, is the push-to-pass. Every driver has 15 uses of the push-to-pass. We should have a little bit more, extra horsepowers to the car to be able to ease overtaking maneuvers around this. Well, I just witnessed a murder, but that's okay. We should add a little bit more horsepower to aid in overtaking, and also defending from overtaking, of course. And another thing that it's not very much known is that every driver has 15 uses of push-to-pass, but that number actually increases a bit the more you start on the lower half of the grid. So I don't know exactly what's the calculation done. I can't remember that, to be completely honest. But 15 is the minimum, and you get drivers who could have actually 16, 17, 18. You don't know really. We're not gonna keep in mind how much push-to-pass each driver has. We just know that they have, and we're just gonna enjoy the racing as it happens. So as we switch from the other camera, which I feel is a bit more nice, we have a look here at Thomas still driving. Actually, let's go on board with him with the helmet cam. Also, I should also have the auto on board, but we're gonna stay with the helmet cam for the time being, just to see how it drives through this track. So let's enjoy a lap on board with Thomas Pickle on his number 64 Agile team. Very braking zone into T1, don't know where the braking point is, but it seems to be a little bit before the 100-meter board. Also, Lotus just joined the server. Very big oversteer, and, well, the track guide got absolutely destroyed into the wall by Thomas, so not track guide for us today. So anyway, here we can see with the BMW car, which I mean is literally a BMW, as you can see from the side, which literally say BMW. This is Lotus, another driver, a very fast one actually, on this league, who is trying to find a way to score even more points in this double header. I'm saying double header because compared to last round, this is a sprint race round, so it means we're gonna have, of course, a race 1 and a race 2. Don't know if they're gonna have reverse grid. I forgot to ask the event organizer. I'm just gonna assume that is how it is. And because of that, of course, we're gonna enjoy stuff when it happens. I'm gonna have a quick look at the server to see if something is being said, but sadly not. Actually, they did even announce that I'm streaming for the time being, but that's okay. Of course, this is gonna be quite a chaotic race, especially considering how turn 1 is. This track is quite an historic one, I think, for DTM. I mean, I'm not a very big DTM nerd. I haven't really followed DTM too much, to be completely honest, but I know this track is quite known in the DTM community, and they raced here actually recently, I think last week around. And it's known because since it has very little corners and it's quite a silly track, it usually produces a little bit of chaos. And for that, it's kind of like, the meme track that everyone kind of loves. I think that's how it's seen in DTM. I don't really know, I'm kind of making things happen on the fly. But that being said, of course, it's wonderful to be here in DTM, in a DTM championship, on a DTM track here in Germany. And I don't know, whatever the Ramstein would say, I think something like Deutschland, Über alles or something like that. So, fantastic stuff, of course. Now, I think, I hope that, well, I should stop watching here, because this is the second time I've seen Agile car spin here. Hopefully that's not, foreshadowing for what's to come. But we can see now Lotus on track, so maybe we can have a look on board with him for an actual track guide with someone who maybe will not spin out in T1. So very careful braking into the first corner. Getting a bit of understeer, but that's okay. Also oversteer. As you can see, a very stable and fantastic car. I absolutely love it. Then it goes to brake here on the 100-meter board. Right-hander, very careful on the turn in. then let the car, of course, roll through the second corner, very much away from the limit, which should be the wall, so he's clearly taking it easy just to see how a banker lap can go. Then he brakes for the last corner, which is here. Goes a little bit deep, I think, I'm not too sure from the onboard, but then of course controlled the traction fantastically and goes to set his first lap time of the practice session, which is gonna be, I think, a 49 something, actually a 50, so not a very fast lap time, but I think it's gonna get, of course, very much faster. Now let's go on board instead with, of course, Max Verstappen, which is currently followed by another car. I'm not sure which one it is. Let's have a look on board. Oh, it's the Power Machinery, not sure which one. It's the number 50 something. I think that's Mike. I'm not sure what it is, but let's stay on board with him for the time being. So he brakes very late compared to Thomas and gets dive bombed by the car behind, not sure why. So a little bit of slip on the rear while going onto the gas. Then he brakes around the 100-meter board to go onto the right-hander, and then of course stay close to the wall for the left-hander, loses the rear bit, but is very close to the limit, so a very fast exit, although it could be faster, we could argue. And then for the braking point here, seems to be around the 100-meter board again. I think that should have been way earlier, but apparently my guess is wrong. I mean, I've never driven here, so I should know better. And then onto the last straight, staying very close to minimize, of course, the distance driven, and onto the start-finish straight is a 48.8, so 4th position for the time being. But I'm pretty sure, knowing him, that he'll find some time. While instead the car behind, which at this point I think it's Zuko. No, it's not Zuko. It's actually 2-3. Yeah, 2-3 actually forgets how to break into T1 and goes very wide. So 6 drivers currently waiting for the race start, and currently, of course, getting every braking point right for what's gonna come. We don't know, of course, which one of them is, on the race fuel, race stream, or whatever. We just know that they are here, ready to witness something. So, anyway, other things I should actually mention for this championship. So, we talked about the DRS, we talked about the push to pass, we talked about the racing format, kinda. We didn't talk about the start, which is something that actually screwed me over last time out. But, I mean, I'm not salty. I should be. I actually am, but I'm trying to hide it as best as possible. But that's not the point. Here in this championship, we have a rolling start. So that means that no, we don't have the classic standing start procedure where you actually sit on your car waiting for the lights to go out and so on. No, that's not what we do here. Here, we start, we go very slowly behind the safety car, and then once we reach the start-finish straight, we go like if it was a kind of a safety car restart. Also, very bad wall hit here for 2-3, but that happens. Anyway, rolling start procedure apart, another thing we should actually mention is the fact that on this championship, usually we have a safety car, but today it's kind of different because we have some kind of a little issue, as we can see, 2-3 dying off the last corner due to traction control not being enabled, and that little issue is the fact that we don't have a safety car today. Neither race director. Luca, which is the race director we had last time around, I mean, he was present, but I'm pretty sure you didn't even notice him. He will be, killed by firing squad next Wednesday, so don't miss that, of course, 9 PM. But the main thing is not going to be able to, be here tonight to be the race director. Actually, I shouldn't have been the commentator today. Me, Teets, of course, as you may know. Mainly because, understaffing and so on, so I ended up being the commentator, and we have no race director for tonight. So it's going to be quite a fun little event, hopefully. And hopefully it doesn't evolve into reckless violence as it usually does. I mean, we kind of hope it does, but really, I'm kind of sure that everything is gonna be, as we say, alrighty. Anyway, as Martisack's still trying to find some time, it's just almost a second slower than usual. We can see Thomas Piccolo with the softs still trying to find some time. Actually, Martisack was on the softs. Verstappen is racing on the soft as well. 2-3 softs. Mikolai also on the softs. And then, of course, we got instead on the hards Lotus, which may explain the pace. You should know that actually the tires don't make such a difference for the time being. We found out that hot tires, soft tires, and mediums kind of have the same performance, or actually the difference is so small that usually, hards are actually the fastest compound, which is due to the fact that they don't wear out that much and lose too much grip. Well, it's the soft actually do. Anyway, let's watch Max Verstappen as he follows Lotus and maybe tries a maneuver. He goes deep into the hairpin, managed to turn in a bit better, and now they are side by side. Usually here is the right point to use a push to pass, and not sure if he's doing that in practice, of course, so he decides actually not to be aggressive and just follow the car ahead. Maybe he's just practicing for what's gonna come into the race, which is of course trying to follow the car around the corners without of course hitting the rear, which is something, if you race in you know, leagues or some, you shouldn't do. And it's also something I, you know, learned quite in the hard way. But that's okay. That's of course okay. Anyway, Verstappen now going on to the main straight. Of course not the fastest lap ever, that's because he was battling a bit with Lotus. But now, onto the braking point, maybe can do another maneuver. He brakes very late compared to the Lotus machinery, which also could be possible due to the soft tires maybe. And as he exits the corners, tries once again to get better traction, but it's not able to. So, very interesting situation, this one. Actually, let's go about with the other camera we should have here on this car, which is this one, just to watch the menace, Viggo, also known as Verstappen, trying to find a way through. Very in practice, which of course, as you may know, awards points. Which is a blatant lie, but hopefully you will trust that. So, once again, better turn in, but worse traction, and once again, he has to wait. As you can see also, DRS getting open for the first time in this, you know, live stream. And you can see how hard it is to race around here. Very hard battling, very hard braking, and very hard traction zones. Once again, tries the same maneuver, maybe this time it worked, and nope, as last time, it didn't. Apparently, it's very much more tricky than it looks like to overtake into T1, and we have having the demonstration here. That was very close to the wall by Viggo, but once again, no cigar, and maybe, just maybe, if he's brave enough, he could try and dive here, which should be an overtaking opportunity, but nope, he's just practicing, so that is not something you may want to do. Also, Lotus went very wide, but once again, the traction saves him. Amazing stuff. I wonder if he's using actually the push to pass. I'm unable to say from the onboard, to be completely honest, but maybe, just maybe, he is. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Also, Viggo went into the pit lane by teleporting, which is something, of course, we have with the current technology here in Germany. And as Lotus drifts into the wall, and thankfully avoids it quite easily, we wait for the last 23 minutes of practice to pass by. Anyway, in case you didn't know, this is a car, a DTM. This car usually turns and accelerates. Or as we say in Italy, this car is a machine that turns. And although this may sound amazing to most of you, it's not the most known fact to most people, because not every nation has a car. BMW is a famous, of course, manufacturer for Germany, and is known in Germany because they make cars. But you know what else is a car manufacturer? Nokia, I think. I haven't studied this, this subject too well, to be completely honest, so I'm just making stuff up to make up for the 23 minutes which are left before our qualifying session. So, I don't know. I would like to say let's have a look at the chat, but I have it nearby and I can see that no one has written anything yet, so yeah, that's just the beauty of the live streams, I guess. And as Martisax actually stops on track for some reason, I think he's likely going to the pit lane. Yes, he is. We watch back Tits, actually Thomas, sorry, as he gets out of the pit lane, and now follows after Verstappen, maybe trying to find out how fast he is or where he can actually gain on him, possibly finding if his setups works. Actually, yeah, one thing I should mention, of course, this league has 3 setups choice, so which means that's a very hard hit on the wall. That means, of course, that you can actually try to alleviate some of the pains that this car gives you, such as, of course, understeer and so on, by changing the setup, trying to make the car a bit more oversteery, or just adding more wing, which is also something that helps quite a lot with understeer with this car. So, yeah, maybe the difference in setups between these two drivers will show his hands during qualifying and also the race. Or maybe it's just gonna be a very boring race where everyone just runs away as fast as possible without having a way to know which driver is actually having a blast and which one is actually suffering from success. Anyway, as they get close, let's go on board with the helmet cam from Tits, which is once again Thomas Piccolo, so I bet if I got it wrong, and as Verstappen dies onto the wall, Thomas is kinda concerned about that and goes back into the pit lane to check out on him and possibly kill him by self with his fists. Anyway, back to Lotus. As he's driving, as you may have guessed from, you know, our racing league, he's trying once again to find the limit and possibly something more than that. Maybe the friends we made along the way. As he gets closer to the wall with the hot tires, trying to find out actually if the hot tires are worth it, or maybe if the setup can help. I'm not sure how the track limits are on this track, to be completely honest. Not sure if you actually can get track limits. Once again, it's my bad that I didn't drive on this track myself. If I did, I would have actually told you what I know. Well, one more spin from the BMW driver, but if I did drive, I would have known better the track limits and would have told you, but sadly for you, I didn't. So, yeah, one last point on my curriculum for commentator and driver, but that's alrighty. That's alrighty. Let's actually take the occasion to do something very stupid, which is go onto the free cam, remove of course the focus thing here, and you know, enjoy the track from the track side or from whatever. So we're gonna go into the pit lane here, as we have, as we said, 6 drivers. Here we got the 2 agile cars here. There's also a third one, which is that one, but that's my car. You should ignore that. It's just because I had to reach the track somehow. We got also John Beer, which is here to witness the race. We got, you know, Lotus waiting, maybe getting some changes done, and also this is number 4, should be 2-3, waiting to get out onto the track. As we said before, crash first lap equals gay, which is something to keep in mind for what's gonna come. Sadly, you know, Pride Month was last month, so I don't think we should be able to make this kind of affirmations, these kind of things during this time, but that's alright. Anyway, as we can see, the other pole machinery blasting by onto the main straight. We can see here pictures from the race. I mean, I'm not sure if this is the current race, but it's looking quite static if that's the case. And as we walk through the pit lane, we can have a look at all the stuff, what that's going on. We should have a look at the number 3, which is Vico, going through the main straight. And we can actually interview this guy here to know if he's having a blast. So, Mr. John Beard, are you having a blast here on this track? That was a very convincing answer, of course. Anyway, as we have Nestle Scholler, which I think is Nestle chocolate, I think, hopefully, and the TSRB and DTM TV thing, which can be seen everywhere, we're gonna wait, of course, for the car number 6, which is Zukovic, to get through the start-finish straight. As you can see from the map, he should be here. There we go. And then we're gonna move, of course, somewhere else. Let's have a look, maybe, once again, at this fantastic, bloody brilliant, you know, fire extinguisher as we wait for Vigo to go by, and we have a look at the pit entry. Of course, drivers won't be, you know, trying too hard to get into the pit exit because they don't have to make a pit stop during this race. But if I have to wonder, I think this is where you should put your pit limiter on, likely. Very, very likely. But we go here to maybe have a better look at the final corners where drivers will actually go back onto the main straight. And we can see once again, very difficult exit, yeah, and very difficult traction zone for the Martisax, who actually goes into the pit lane. So yeah, for the first time we see a driver go into the pit lane, very nice. And then we wait for Vigo, who is just right there, opening the DRS soon. There we go. And then of course blasting onto the main straight to maybe improve his lap time, or just going into the pit lane, as he just did. So we walk back to the pit lane as well, because this is what we should do. We wave at the crowd, which is full of people, as you can see. There's also this guy taking a picture of me. Hopefully I'm taking a picture of him. Actually, there's 2 of them, as you can see. So yeah, they are very excited, of course, for this race as we are. And as we have seen the fog developing on the pit lane, we once again wait for drivers to have the practice done. This is where, of course, where the pit limiter gets off. We shouldn't be allowed to walk on track, but I'm gonna absolutely ignore that and get here to watch once again. I think that was Vigo. No, that was Lotus. So Lotus also practicing. But we walk here to have a better look both at the fantastic fans we have here today, which are around on the thousands, and then of course this thing here, Zum Aufstieg. Not sure what that means. Hopefully it's not bad word or something bad. Anyway, I'm gonna fly now, as we can see. and we're gonna have a look on how this map is actually done, if it's done better, well, or not well, in Assetto Corsa standards, of course. As we accelerate to maximum speed to the other side of Germany, we now reach this place here, and we watch also Vico taking the corner very wide. Actually, I don't think he's pushing. He's not a very fast exit, that one. And we see Lotus doing the same as well, also blocking, and yeah, that surely is not how you are supposed to do that corner. And we've got comms here, and then all the people parking up here, and the rest of the road, which, as you can see, in Germany, usually roads lead to the woods. So yeah, if you go to white into T1, to the woods you go, and you make Linus happy. Of course. Yeah, I'm just birding my time here. So anyway, having a look at the rest of the track, as Verstappen starts another lap. Here we're gonna stay with the crowd to watch him go into the corner, drifting a bit on the exit. Also, there's another guy here. I think that's Martisax, I think. I think that's Thomas Piccolo, actually. No, he's not. He's into the pit lane, so that should be Martisax. So, as we go here, we can have a look maybe at the famous only 2 corners on this track, which are these 2 here. And I think I'm gonna be smart like these guys here. And if I were to go onto this track in real life, I would go here. Mainly because if you stay here, you are able to watch a fantastic section being driven by the drivers. Which is something usually you don't see too much. It's a very technical section, so very nice to see in real life. There's also a toilet here, known as Toy Toy. Very nice. Anyway, we're gonna see car number 3, so Vico, go through this section quite soon. Right around now. There we go. So very close to the wall here. Very close to the wall here, and very close to the wall on the exit as well. So very nice. And also 32, Martisax, following him, well, kinda close, but not too close. As we follow, we can see the rest of the track, of course, from the sky. In this, you know, track exploration service, we could say. To see what else is there to be said. Actually, it's called Nuremberg, or Norisring, in Germany. Just 1 meter of elevation, so very flat track. We also have a bar here, so if you want to drink, you can. There's also an Obi. What the hell is an Obi doing here? No clue. We got the cameraman, also called, you know, Charlie Amera. And of course, we got the last corner. We maybe some drivers coming through. I think the number 4, so 2, 3 should appear around the corner here now. I think I got it wrong. Yeah, I got it wrong because that's Vico once again getting through the last corner. Very tight entry. Very nice exit, but still looks like it's not improving from what it appears for the time being. We let Lotus by, of course, and then we move to the center of the track, which appears to be a very nice place because you got, well, some space here for the fans, of course. Some toilets. I wonder if there's something inside here. Nope, you have to shit in the void if that ever happens. Then the grandstands, of course. The small stands, of course, as well. The Nestle Scholler, I think it's called. A door which leads to, you know, the back rooms. And then, of course, everything else that has to be said and seen from this track. Actually, there's just 2 more things that are strange to be said. Actually, let me have a look. I know this is not what we should have a look at during practice, but, you know, it's just 6 cars going by, so you can survive this little bit of tomfoolery while we wait. So we got a running ground here for after the race, where drivers will actually have to run with their legs, of course, on track. We got the museum or something that is here. We got I have no clue what this is. Maybe it's a theater or something. But the thing that was you know, catching my attention, and I was kind of curious. I think that's a stadium. Yes, I think it's a football stadium. Is that thing over here? Because it feels a bit strange, but that looks like the Colosseum. It's just another arena that the Romans built maybe back in the days, which is something I didn't know if that's the case. So that's the case because, you know, I'm used to see, you know, these kind of things in Rome, which is in Italy, and something I saw also in Croatia and Slovenia when I went there. Actually, is it called Slovenia? Is it called? I don't know. Sure, I don't know how it's called in English. I should check. But yeah, seems like there's some Roman structure here. So very nice, and also that single thing over there, which for some reason is actually modeled. So props to the modder who did this thing. And yeah, this is a very nice place to have a little bit of a fight once the race is over. You know, the drivers will go here, take some swords, and fight between each other to see who is the real fastest driver and also the best fighter. Anyway, back to our usual stuff. We go back to Martisax, turning the car in the wrong direction, and then to 2-3, still running with the soft tires and trying to find some time around the track. And also sliding a bit on the exit. 10 minutes left before the start of qualifying. And as we wait, of course, as we hear people gassing the car up, revving and trying to find out where the limit is, which is currently, of course, not there for our fine 2-3. We wait, of course, for the start of qualifying. Let's have a look if people are doing something in the event chat, but apparently not. Are they doing something in the Agile Central? Apparently yes. Of course, if you're wondering, I'm a very biased commentator, of course, but you can kind of wonder from my Agile livery, so, you know, that's to be expected. But I'll try my best to hide my bias as best as I could, as much as, you know, I don't know, Sky Sports F1 does, so hopefully it's gonna be nice. Now, as Zuko has a little bit of a, I think, not very optimal line into T1, he exits and tries now to follow after Lotus, who also I saw spun and also is trying the soft tires to maybe see if that was the issue with his pace. I think the main issue currently is that thing called the wall, but that's to be seen another day. He waves a little bit, maybe to get a little bit of hit into the tires, and then drifts into the last corner, goes onto the gas, and now gasses his way onto the main straight to see if he's actually able to maybe, just maybe, gain something. So let's go on board with him for this lap to see if he's able to maybe find some tenths. Braking into T1 hits a wall a little bit, but that should be good enough. Taking the curb there shouldn't be good, but he manages to get the power down somehow. Then onto the S section. First sector doesn't look too good onto the lap time down there, but he's gonna be able to manage something. But nope, he's understeering very much around here, and I think that's gonna be another time loss onto the second sector. We're gonna have a look very soon. Yeah, he's lost a tenth here. But then onto the last corner, he's gonna be able to gain some time here. Very difficult to get the power down. But then, of course, onto the power, onto the final straight, is gonna be able to actually do something. Sadly, not. But he gained a little bit onto the last sector, so hopefully there's hope for his lap. Now, as this goes, I'm gonna mute myself for a little while, just a second possibly, just to check something real quick. And then, of course, I'll be back with you all. So have a look at Martisax as he drives, while I'll check something by my side. Okay, so with my technical check done, which was simply to see if on the stream my audio worked and was actually, you know, audible, we have a look at three-way battle here between Martisax. I think that's 3-3, 2-3, or actually it's Zukovic, I'm not sure. No, yeah, that's 2-3. And also Lotus right behind, actually a bit more than behind now, trying to follow this duo. So let's have a look on board from Martisax to see if he's able to maybe complete a maneuver, which is something that Vico struggled greatly before. Onto the main straight, both onto the DRS and of course main power. Don't know if push to pass is gonna get used right now. Also, if you're wondering, yeah, push to pass is not allowed in qualifying, so you're not gonna see, you know, crazy lap times or crazy top speeds around this track. But onto the braking, I think that's not the greatest braking point here for 2-3, and Martisax tries to capitalize on that, but it's not, you know, getting the traction down as well as he wanted, as it took too much curb. And then, of course, here, they brake for this right-hander and then left-hander. to see if they are able to maybe gain some time. Also, I just noticed something on the general livery, which is something I didn't notice, and it's a neat little detail. Actually, I'm gonna point it out soon. But as they go onto the final corner, once again, not able to capitalize by braking a little bit too late, I gotta say. Our friend here, Matisax, has to contend with staying behind 2-3 for another lap. Anyway, the neat thing I was noticing is that, in case you didn't know, Thomas and Matisax are teammates. But Thomas is Italian and Matisax should be from, I think, Cuba. I'm not sure actually, but the main thing I noticed that the livery for the car, usually the Agile livery, has an Italian flag here. And just noticed that on Matisax's car, of course, the flag is changed due to the nationality being different from Italian. So that is some nice detail I didn't notice up to now, and now you know that as well. So once again, a little bit of a shootout to Cameron Designs, which is the guy who made this livery for Agile. A very nice work, a very nice detail to be made. And with that being said, 5 minutes left, we get ready for qualifying as 2-3 decides to get out of the way to let Matisax lap a little bit in free air. And think I'm gonna take the 5 minutes break, or the last 5 minutes of practice, to go and drink a little bit of water, because my throat is dying just a tad bit. So stay here, stay tuned, don't go anywhere, because I'll know if you do that, and I'll be back very, very soon. And wouldn't you know it, the second I go away to drink some water, I come back and there's one guy in the chat, which is Quasar, security moving like Tekken. Yes, absolutely, here on this track to get, of course, intruders out of the way. Then I can see a ping on the server, which is, of course, for the streaming, of course, and they are asking me if I'm commentating, which is, of course, yes, I am. And as I answer, of course, on the server for that, we wait the last 3 minutes for qualifying to get underway. Also, we got another driver while I was waiting, which is Aka, driving for actually a normal BMW. Actually, it's an Audi. So Aka driving for an Audi here, and I'm not sure on what team is on, but he's here to race, so that's fine by me. I don't think we're gonna have the time to see what kind of lap times he's able to pull out, if not until qualifying. So he's gonna be quite a big question mark on our big leaderboard, and finding out how fast he is, of course, that's gonna be nice. Sadly, I mean, it's difficult to say if I'm watching, driving, and everything at the same time, and I think that I don't know that both this time, so I'm sorry, of course, for the chat for that, but I hope I will understand that one day. I will inform myself after the race to know what the hell we were talking about. Anyway, as Zukovic, once again, goes through this S section, trying to find the limit, he finds it quite well, but still, the lap time doesn't indicate a very big gain, so currently I think this current pace is still around the 48.6, actually a little bit behind, but that could be due, of course, to different fuel loads, and once again, that's a bit much too over the limit, and he's trying his best to find a time. Okay, I don't know the ball, and Thomas will show me, so thank you, Sardinian YouTuber. I'll find out, of course, after when the time is right. So while that goes on, we have a look at the lap times currently on the leaderboard before the qualifying starts. So Thomas currently is leading with a 47.1 as a lap time. Then 7 tenths behind we got his teammate Matisax in P2. Then P3 we got Vigo still trying to find a better lap time with a currently a 48.0, so very close to the edge of the 48 mark. And, well, he doesn't take T1 too well, so that's not gonna help his cause, of course. Then we got in P4, 2-3, driving currently with a 48.0 as well. So 2-3 and Max Verstappen, also known as Vigo, will have possibly a very intense and close battle in qualifying. Then we got Lotus, currently in P5 with a 48.2, followed by Zukovic, also known as Zuko, with a 48.6, and then Aka, currently in 132.3, which is of course not a representative lap time due to the fact that he just joined the server, and I think he possibly has a bit more to be shown. Also 1 minute 32 is possibly his, outlap or something like that, so I don't think that is current lap time. And I can see him struggling a bit with the braking, to be completely honest. I'm not sure if he has got a lot of practice with this car, or currently with the DTM, which is going to be quite an issue, of course, if the race comes by, because you kind of want to know how this car behaves when you brake, because otherwise you're going to go exactly like this, a bit straight. But that's okay. That's of course okay. So 40 seconds. Hoping everyone is ready and revved up for what's going to be a very exciting qualifying, hopefully. And as we wait, Matisax disconnects from the server. Hopefully he's going to join back quite soon. And we are almost, just almost, ready for qualifying to start. I'm going to draw a cat. No, actually not. By the way, if you don't know, with the fantastic CMRT broadcast thing, I can drive thing. For example, I can draw a ball like this. So if I want to show you stuff, I can do that. I'm getting pings from everywhere. I got another ping, hopefully it's from the race, is Thomas, which tells me to put something during the stream. I'm not sure if we're gonna do that just now, or how I'm gonna do that, because I don't have something ready on OBS to do that. So maybe I'll check that later. Anyway, checkered flag is now out, of course. And Verstappen managed to improve his lap time a little bit. No, actually it's not. That's because Matisak is out of the service. So his lap time is currently listed as P2, as is currently the third fastest lap time in the service. So a platinum driver currently getting beaten by silvers, which is kind of embarrassing if you ask me, but that's alright. Anyway, we wait for Arca, which currently is driving with a 51.6 to finish his lap time. He's taking it quite easy, as far as I can see, with his Audi. And he's now getting to the last section of the track to take the checkered flag. And let us start, of course, the fantastic qualifying session here at the Norisring, or the ring of the famous British Formula 1 champion for the ongoing year. And as everyone actually gets disconnected, I'm wondering if there's gonna be a server restart, which could be likely. Usually this happened last time around. I hope not, because otherwise I will have to, exit the server, rejoin and so on. I'm gonna find out quite soon. And as you can see, people just joining, taking on, and all the real penalty stuff, which is kind of readable, as you can see from, the fact that I cannot read all these numbers here. We wait, of course, for the qualifying start in just 1 minute time. Hopefully, of course, if that's gonna just start. People are joining, of course, the event voice just below, which is absolutely fantastic. We got other people all around the world getting ready for what's gonna be possibly a very exciting event here in Germany for the DTM, which, if in case you didn't know, stands for Deutschland Touringwagen Master. Something like that. But yeah, people joining back, people getting ready. Just 6 drivers for today, but hopefully that's more than enough to get some entertainment, of course. Hopefully, yeah, you get the point anyway. 20 seconds, people still joining, people getting ready. The gloves are on, the balls are on the ground, and the tires pressure are hopefully inside the legal limits, which is also something we should ask the race direction, which is non-existent, of course, to check. But now, the time for waiting is finally over, and we move into the 15 minutes of qualifying here at the Norisring. So, people are getting ready to start, and we can see also Aka is the first one to actually start and get out onto the track. The first guy who will ever be able to race on the track. Currently 5 drivers, the 6th one is not being shown for some reason, and no one is actually exiting the pits, which is strange. Actually, I see another car, which I think it's Thomas. Yes, Thomas is also exiting now the track, but we're gonna follow, of course, Arca, which is the first driver on track, to see if he's able to pull in a nice little lap time or just a nice banker lap for everyone to beat. Also, I can see Lotus exiting now the pit lane, and of the other drivers, just Martisax and Viggo are yet to exit the pit lane. So, onto the braking point now for the last corner. Here, we're gonna use the other camera just for qualifying, and he's struggling quite a bit. I think I'm gonna have a look actually at Thomas, because I think he's possibly gonna have a little bit of a cleaner lap, and we're gonna stay on board with the helmet cam to see his banker lap, how it goes, and if it's actually gonna be a nice one to follow. So, onto the last straight. As I said before, no push to pass allowed in qualifying. Let's have a look how he's gonna be able to tackle the German roads of the Norisring. Onto the main straight. Starting now the lap. He's gonna brake around the 150 meter board right here. Then braking here. There's a yellow flag, but thankfully we are not in Formula 1, so you're allowed to push as hard as possible and still get the pole position. Actually, I think in Formula 1 you're allowed to do that as well. So, purple's first sector, which is not too surprising considering he's the first driver to set a lap time. And now onto the limit here, maybe a bit too close. No, he's able to just graze the wall and get away with it. And now onto the last braking point of this track, braking at the end of the kink on the right to then turn onto the left. I think he had a little bit of a block up, so not too nice, and a bit of a power slide on the exit, so time to gain for a second run or so more. And now he goes onto the main straight to finish his lap time. He had a 47 something in practice, and it's a 47.6 here in the first round he made, so 6:10 to be shaved off, of course. We have a look at Lotus, which is the other driver who is now starting a lap time, and as Martisax and Nikolai Zukov rejoins, of course, the server, we got Lotus finishing a 48.6, then we got Viggo, who I think is either starting a lap, yeah, I think he's starting a lap, so we're gonna have a close look at him, and also possibly compare it with Thomas Piccolo, who is gonna be kept on the right, sorry, on the left-hand side, and with a very light team for some reason. So actually, let's move back to Thomas, because, you know, he's finishing the lap time. He had an improvement in Sector 1. Sector 2 was lower, as we can see, but let's see if actually Sector 3 is a better exit. I think he is. So he's gonna improve possibly with a 47.4, so a better lap time. Now, back to Max Verstappen, also known as Viggo, as 2-3 joins back. Very nice exit out of T2, but he's still behind Thomas in the battle for the timers, as Aka sets a 52.4. Verstappen yet 30.5, Sector 2, now onto the last straight to see if he can actually gain time. A bit of a power slide, but looks a bit more stable compared to Thomas Piccolo. Is he gonna be able to beat the Italian driver on the line? Let's have a look, let's hold our breath, lads. And it is gonna be a P2 lap time of 47.7. Thomas, in the meanwhile, improves Sector number 2 and goes onto the last corner. Let's see if he's able to get the power down easily. It goes a little bit onto the power a bit too early, very difficult and very tricky to get out of these low corners here, but onto the main straight he's gonna be able to improve a little bit more. I think he is 47.420, so a small improvement, but still an improvement it is. In the meanwhile, Nikolai is now starting his lap. Let's have a look at him while this goes, and also let's keep an eye on Verstappen if he's able to pull some better lap times in. At the moment, no indication for purple sector for Verstappen, but I'm quite sure he's gonna improve quite easily, as Zukov currently getting through Sector 2, as we got a lap time in from Lotus, I think. No, actually it was Martisax with a 48.6 currently. And as Nikolai goes into the last corner, very hard entry, I gotta say, and very difficult exit. That's not gonna be a valid lap time, sadly, for him. We got instead Martisax still trying to find time, and Thomas, who was right behind. We got a second sector purple, and then of course finishing his lap time. Is it gonna be an improvement? I don't think so. It's just 0.4 behind what he's gonna be able to do. Verstappen, in the meanwhile, yellow Sector 2, I don't think that's gonna be an improvement in Sector 2. Actually, was gonna say Sector 1, so my bad on that. But I don't think that's gonna be an improvement. Lotus, in the meanwhile, through the last corner, he's improving in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Is it gonna be an improvement in Sector 3? As we can see, Martisax fighting with Aka right ahead for position. Lotus improves, but not enough to change the position. In the meanwhile, Mikael is now starting another lap, has a little bit of a lockup in the second sector. I don't think that's a valid lap time because it's not showing. 2-3, meanwhile, 57.7, not a very impressive lap time, but I'm quite sure he's gonna try and improve as he gets a very sideways Viggo into T1. Now, onto the gas at the exit of T1. Gets a bit of traffic, but he should be able to move. I don't think he actually went too much onto the gas there. It's difficult to say from here. Should have the actual telemetry, which is shown now on the bottom right. And as he now chases after Viggo, and possibly a better position than P6, he improves in sector 2 as well. Brakes for the last corner, very difficult. Now goes steadily onto the gas, very nice power down for him. I don't know if he's gonna be fast enough to get maybe a pole position, but possibly he's gonna improve. So 46, 47, 48, it's an improvement and brings him up into P4. Now, Lotus behind, fighting with traffic, so possibly not an improvement. Verstappen right behind him is trying to find both grip and everything else, but I think he's gonna find some traffic and not an improvement in T1. So once again, he tries now to get something done into this sector, but it's gonna be very difficult, especially with the traffic, which tries to move out of the way. He gets a little bit of slipstream, but I don't think that's gonna save his cause. And now, he's gonna try and brake as best as he can into the last corner, and the Audi gets a bit in the way, and he bails out of the lap. Now, back to Thomas, of course, trying once again to find some lap time, but it's not an improvement in the first sector. Let's have a look if the second sector actually has some surprises for him, or if it's gonna be a no-go, and I think it's a no-go because he's 0.3 behind his best. And as he tries to go onto the gas for the last corner, he does go quite well, but I don't think he's gonna be, of course, an improvement for his lap time. So, onto the finish straight, 0.3 behind his best, and goes back into the pit lane and then out onto the track as well. Arca still into the pit lane, maybe changing his setup a little bit. Then we got Zukov finishing his lap time, but still no improvement for him. We're gonna go back to Vigo because he has not improved sector 1. Maybe sector 2 is gonna be a surprise, not really. 1.4 seconds behind, so surely not his best. But he's gonna try once again, so with a very nice drift out of the last corner. He's now getting DRS open, giving some slipstream to the car behind, which I think is gonna be 2-3. I think it's 2-3, yes he is. And now, actually let's go on board with 2-3 to see both of the cars taking a very nice qualifying run. So 2-3 not optimizing the track too well, I gotta say, but getting nicely onto the gas, onto the traction, on the exit, and now following, of course, Vico into the next section. Both cars are very much, I mean, Vico is, I'm not sure how he's going onto the sector, but 2-3 is very close to his personal best, but Vico gets this sector absolutely perfectly and literally pulls away from him. So nothing much 2-3 could do here, and he's very much on the limit of what he can do, because he's very close to his personal best. I don't think this is gonna help him, though, because he went a bit too deep onto the last corner, and now onto the gas, as Vigo pulls away once more. This is gonna be an improvement from Vigo, not too sure, we're gonna find out quite soon though. Doesn't look so, but neither is from 2-3, so both drivers still struggling to find pace on the streets of Germany. Meanwhile, Matisax also getting close to finish a lap, currently in P5. Actually, he's not finishing the lap, he's starting it, because as you can see, he has no delta bar behind. And as Thomas also is finishing his lap time, but I'm pretty sure he's just chalking it, as we say. We have a car on the wall behind, but we go on board with Matisax to see from the helmet cam how he goes on a push lap. He now spots the 150 meter board to brake for T1, optimizing the track entry, not touching too much of the curb and getting nicely onto the power, a little bit maybe too much because he's got a bit of a tank slapper, as we say. Then braking at the 100, maybe a little bit later, to then go onto third gear actually, as Thomas improves into the second sector, as we can see with a 15.5. Maybe it's gonna be an improvement, but Matisax decides that this is not gonna be the lap and decides to let traffic go by. We go back to Thomas. Maybe it's gonna be an improvement with a purple second sector. Is it gonna be? Sadly, it is not. The time loss in sector 1 and 3 is a bit too much and is not able to improve from 47.4 actually. So, for the time being, with 5 minutes left in this qualifying session, we got Thomas Piccolo currently in pole position, followed by Max Verstappen in P2, improving in sector 2. Doesn't look a very nice last corner, so I'm not sure if he's gonna improve in sector 3, but we're gonna find out quite soon, so let's stay with him for a little while. I don't think it's gonna be an improvement. Nope, it's 0.7 behind and decides to go back into the pit lane immediately. Then Lotus in P3 with a 48.1, still chasing maybe some more lap time to be found. Then we got 2-3 in P4, despite what his name says. We're still trying to find some lap time as well, and still chasing after a very packed and traffic-filled track by his teammate here, and of course Matisax, which is currently in P5. Then, a few seconds behind, we got Arca, still trying to find an improvement, with a 0.52.4. And as we go, as we wait, We move maybe back to Martisax because he's having some blast with traffic, but also back to Thomas because he's improved in Sector 1, so finding some more time. Let's see if maybe in Sector 2 he's able to continue his role of sectors. We're gonna find out soon. Not able, he lost some time, actually quite a lot of time in Sector 2, so big shame, but maybe, is he gonna be able to catch it back in Sector 3? A bit too eager onto the gas, and I don't think that's gonna be an improvement for him, despite the purple Sector 1, which is kind of a shame, really, considering it was looking very promising at the very start of it. So yeah, he's not gonna be able to improve, although by a little margin, a little bit less than I expected. We move back to Verstappen, currently matching his best first sector. Let's see through the second sector. Well, that's not gonna be an improvement, if that's the wall he's gonna hit, of course. As every driver is hitting a wall, known as performance. And we got Martisax actually improving and going up into P3, which is currently 48.1 as a lap time. So very close to Lotus, which is right here and also improving. So is he gonna be able to snatch back P3 from him? The answer is yes, clearly, with a 48.0. So Lotus very competitive today with his blue and red BMW. Then, who else is going onto the straight? Verstappen, not able to improve, actually should have made a big mistake, which should be the wall one we saw before, and Thomas right behind, not improving either. Then we wait for the next car, which is Aka. Doesn't seem too fast out of the last corner, but you know, it's a slow corner, and Thomas actually exits the server with just 2 minutes left, actually 3 minutes left, so hopefully he's going to be able to take the start, because otherwise that's going to be a little bit of drama, but thankfully he came back quite easily onto the track and got the server permission, so yeah, a little bit of conflict of interest, I would say. And as Aka, you know, beans it a little bit into the wall, we move back to Martisax, which is close by, trying to find maybe a time to beat Lotus, which is very close to him for the time being. Also, I'm wondering, is Verstappen able to currently beat Thomas? Doesn't seem so. He's very much struggling to find some pace for the time being. Into T1, once again, braking very hard and taking the corner quite nicely with a very nice power slide, I gotta say. Very sexy. He is still trying to find time, but that power slide cost him at least a 10th, or almost a 10th, which is not very nice, of course. But still, Sector 2 seems to be strong suit, and as I say that, he hits the wall, so maybe I should have stayed, you know, shut, as we say. And Martisax, quietly, while I wasn't watching, takes P3 back with a with a time, and by surprise, 2-3 actually beats both of them, and Lotus once again beats them. So, big surprise for P3, P4, and P5. These 3 guys are gonna be having quite the fight quite soon, so yeah. That's a close qualifying between these guys. So P1 and P2 are not really fighting too hard between each other, but the battle for P3, that's gonna be a hard one. That's gonna be a hard one to top. So back to Thomas, starting another lap now. He's gonna be able to improve to set his benchmark away from Vigo's grasp. Let's have a look. Out of T1, doesn't look a very fast exit. We're gonna find out soon if it was. Nope, it's not. Just a 10th behind his personal best. Then into the left and right-hander, which of course are not in that order. He goes very close to the wall, very much pushing. His teammate moves out of the way, of course, to not impede him during qualifying. And as he goes onto the braking point, he's very much too much away, 0.3, so I don't think this is going to be an improvement. So we move back to Vigo, who's currently finishing his lap time, but does not look like an improvement. So as he finishes, we watch back Thomas to see if actually he's able to pull out a miracle on the last corner, but I think at this point he's actually able. What the hell? So he did a very fantastic last corner, but that was not enough to save his cause. So we move back actually to Mykolaiv, which is actually Zuko, trying now to take the last corner and possibly improve from his P6 position, which is a very respectable position. I know how hard it is to push these cars to the limit, so props to him to being there. Let's see, it doesn't look like an improvement so far, and it is not, but by a very fine margin, so still a very nice qualifying effort by him. Then we move back to Vigo, who does not improve Sector 1 and Sector 2. Is Sector 3 gonna be his magical solution for this one? The answer is no, 1.2 seconds behind. Then back to Thomas, taking the checkered flag, so sadly not able to pull out another possible qualifying lap, I think. By hitting the wall, possibly that's gonna be the end of him. He's still pushing, incredibly, so we don't know if that's gonna be valid, but I'm gonna keep an eye on him later. So we move back to Zuko, who does not show his sector time, so maybe, just maybe, he's not on a push lap for his final lap. Still, we're gonna have a look at him onto the start-finish straight to see if he's able to complete his lap, and the answer is yes, but with no improvement. We move back to Thomas, once again showing no differences in sectors, so not sure if it's a push lap or not. Going to the gas, trying to find some time onto the last corner. He's gonna be able to improve. He's currently guaranteed pole position lap time. The answer is no. And then of course we wait for Arca to see if he's able to improve from his 52.1, and the answer is nope, sadly. And with this, qualifying is currently over. And this is our final starting grid. Thomas Piccolo starts in pole position, followed by Max Verstappen, also known as Viggo. Then Lotus and 2-3 starts in P3 and P4. Then Marty Sachs, Thomas' P teammate, in P5, followed by Nikolai in P6, and of course P7 for Arca. The stage is set for the final showdown here in Germany. And now, all we have to do is of course wait for the race to start, which is going to be hopefully very soon. And if that's not going to happen very soon, then I'm going to possibly kick myself in the teeth. But yeah, it's just 1 minute and 30 seconds away from 2 races of 27 minutes actually of duration. I thought it was 20 minutes, but apparently it was a little bit wrong. So yeah, that's going to be how much a race is going to be lasting. Hopefully that's going to be, of course, something you can enjoy quite well. And hopefully it's not going to be too chaotic of a race. I see all the guys down there on the event chat discussing, which are just Thomas, Verstappen, Marty Sachs and Arca. So hopefully they're going to be able to, you know, coordinate the race start quite well enough to not have some chaos, because as we said before, our current race director was killed by a firing squad. Actually, he's set to be executed by firing squad in the next few weeks. So yeah, that being said, we have no race direction, we have no safety car, we have nothing to ensure that this race is going to be safe for our drivers. So whoever dies for us, for our entertainment. So it's going to be fine and fun, hopefully. 25 seconds left before we move onto the track, and then we wait, of course, for the racing procedure to start. And then hopefully we have no, you know, drive-through dramas or whatever onto the race start. So hopefully it's going to be a very nice race start with no issues whatsoever. 5 more seconds. 3 more seconds. And we move onto the starting grid. And who would you look at that? That's me. I'm going back into the pit lane, of course, because I'm not supposed to race here. And as we see from our, from our race director, which is possibly Thomas at this point, this is going to be a rolling start. So we're going to have all the drivers, once the timers hits 27 minutes, you know, taking their formation lap altogether, and then of course getting onto the main straight to start the race as intended. So we wait, of course, for the race to have its expected start, as we can see from the track info, 2 kilometers of track, 1 meter of elevation, 27 minutes of racing in Nuremberg, Germany. Hopefully that's the way it is pronounced, because otherwise I am quite screwed. People will have to look at the starting lights, which are now getting red and ready, but it's not going to be the kind of start usually seen in Formula 1, because as the lights go out, people are just going to roll under the safety car. So we have a look at our drivers. We got Thomas close, we got Verstappen, Viggo close behind, we got Lotus getting ready, starting to get his tires warmed up. Then we got 2-3, Marty Sachs, Arca and Zukovic. I cannot see actually how the tires are. Let's have a look, maybe if we can have a look at that. Current tires, everyone is onto the soft except for Lotus, which is currently onto the mediums. So quite curious decision by him. We're gonna have a look at that, of course, and to see how it works, but that's of course for the long run. So 26 minutes, the race will start possibly with 25 minutes left onto the clock, likely something around that. And as people are trying to stay in formation for the race start, and they're doing that quite nicely, I gotta say, we move back to Thomas Piccolo, as going to be the race leader and also the one to direct the race start. So safety car still underway, people getting some tire warmed a little bit. People will pop onto the, you know, pit limiter quite soon to get ready for the race start. There we go, so all the people are ready. The engines are rolling, the safety car light is now off, so people are getting ready for what's gonna be possibly a very nice race start. Everyone is ready here in Germany, And as the formation gets onto the main straight, the first of 2 races here for DTM for TSRB is currently red flagged. Not sure. That was a very loud beep. And now it is go. So green flag, Viggo pulls ahead. Lotus got a DRS penalty instantly. But into T1 they all go. Thomas tries to brake late. So does also Lotus. There's a bit of contact. Very nice and clean race start, as you can see. But thankfully we can see that with some DRS penalties being applied by people who are using DRS when they cannot do that, everyone seemed to be fine, and Thomas pulls ahead into the first corner. Now, followed by, of course, Viggo, close behind, trying to stay close, and also, of course, our friend Lotus, who is trying currently to stay behind the leaders, and also trying to stay and get some tire warm-up quite nicely. So, we go into the last corner. Viggo still trying to stay close. There is also a little bit of chaos behind. We can see Martisax and, of course, 2-3 fighting. And also Arca ahead of Mikolai currently for the time being. So, on the main straight, Martisax gets another penalty for DRS usage when he's not allowed. And for the time being, Thomas sets the fastest lap, while Verstappen currently tries desperately to stay close. So, onto the braking 41, he's not able to stay close. Lotus goes very wide. Is 2-3 gonna be able to capitalize on that? I don't think so. And actually goes onto the power too early, and this spins out. So that's gonna be a catastrophe for the power racing driver. So Lotus stays in P3, and Martisax gets promoted into P number 4. Very dramatic race start for now, but 24 minutes is still a very long time, so we're gonna have a look at 2-3 later on to see if he's able to actually take back some time. Also, let's have a look from the onboard from Mikolai in the background as he drives and tries to overtake Arca. Well, we keep instead a battle for the lead on the main straight here on the main monitor. So Thomas still running away from Viggo, and Viggo trying to get as close as possible, while Lotus doesn't let them get away. Actually, we move back to these 2 guys here because there's gonna be an overtake likely by Mikolai on Arca. And as they go onto the main straight, I think Mikolai is using the push to pass because he's pulling ahead quite easily. Let's see if he's gonna be able to push onto the braking point quite easily. He is not. The Audi goes very deep. He's gonna be able to complete the corner. They are both still battling very nicely. Gonna keep, of course, a battle for the lead here on the top left. But as that happens, for the time being, Mikolai is trying to find a way onto the Audi driver ahead to try and overtake, and the Audi understeers quite clearly. Is he gonna be able to complete the maneuver? He's gonna find some nice traction, some nice speed out of this section here, and now onto the last corner. Is he gonna be able to outbrake the Audi driver and take the position? I think he is. There's contact, big one, and Arca goes a little bit forcefully wide, but is not able to complete the maneuver. Meanwhile, as Arca spins out, we wait for 2-3 to actually gain back the time. And in the meanwhile, Verstappen is still able to stay close to Thomas as he's suffering from understeer. In the meanwhile, the battle for the for the wooden spoon at this point, I would say, goes on, and 2-3 is able to overtake the Audi driver. But I wonder, is the Audi driver going to be able to fight back onto the brakes? The answer is not very much likely. And onto the exit is going to be a very difficult exit for 2-3, but he's going to be able to stay there as the Audi wiggles with the power, getting down onto the track. And now 2-3, he's going to be trying to get, you know, a very nice recovery drive underway in this last part of the track. In the meanwhile, I think I just saw Thomas going a little bit too wide, and of course Verstappen is able to gain back some time. So these 2 are still trying to run as fast as possible onto this track and trying to find a way to, you know, set up some nice lap times. Currently 47.8 from Thomas. I wonder how much it is from Verstappen. 47.8 as well. So they are racing very closely on the lap times. This is going to be a very exciting fight, I can say. So let's go on board with Viggo as he tries his best absolutely to get close to the Italian driver ahead. Onto the braking point, onto the S section, as you can see on the right hand side and left hand side. Get very close to the wall by Thomas and very close to the wall by Viggo, but a very big tank slapper onto the exit. That's going to cost at least 1/10 to him. And now onto the braking, they brake here as they finish, you know, the kink on the sidewalk on the right. He's going to be able to close the corner better, but he's not going to be able to get traction down too well to get close to Thomas. So this battle stays like this for the time being. Meanwhile, we go back to 2-3 because he's getting closer instead to his teammates. So I wonder, is this going to be a nice little battle between teammates, or is gonna Mikolai let him fly? That is one answer we will have very soon. So we get on board with the helmet cam to 2-3, which is 3-2 or 2-3-3-2. Getting now onto the braking point for T1. Arca gets a penalty for DRS usage when he should not, and that's a big dive, a bit too ambitious, I gotta say. And he actually gets a hit of Mikolai. No, Mikolai is still there. So yeah, very big ambitious dive by 2-3, which doesn't work out. In the meanwhile, Verstappen also getting once again close to Thomas, but Thomas still able to hold his ground onto P1. We still keep a look, of course, at this battle between the two BMW drivers, trying the best to imitate, of course, their real-life counterpart in the highway, trying to use high beams and, of course, klaxon to get you underway while targeting you on the highway. So, as he tries once again to get onto the traction and hits the wall a little bit, the battle between teammates is gonna get very difficult. Meanwhile, Martisax and Lotus very much separated by a big gap, I gotta say, because they are 3-point-something seconds away between each other. So Martisax onto the podium positions, and these guys here are the only battle we got on track for the time being. So, are they gonna be able to continue this battle, or is some drama gonna happen? As we saw, it's very easy to make a mistake and get the traction wrong, but of course, this is two drivers getting something wrong, and we cannot predict, of course, when a mistake is gonna happen. So maybe it can happen to 3, maybe it can happen to Zuko. That is difficult to say, of course, but we're gonna find out soon if that is the case or not. Also, we should keep an eye on penalties, which sadly are not in front of my eyes for the time being. We cannot have that on the, you know, on the CMRT broadcast thing, so we're gonna have just to wonder, but we saw some penalties for some drivers for the RS usage. So, as I'm struggling to speak some basic English, we go back to the battle between the two teammates, as I can see a very half-hearted dive bomb by 2-3, which somehow ends. I think maybe that's Zuko just giving him the time and space to let him by, and now run away with P number 5 and maybe chase after Lotus if the, you know, pace allows him. For the time being, Lotus is lapping in the 48.2. 2-3 last lap time was a 48.5 due to maybe to the battle between him and, of course, his teammate. Thomas, meanwhile, is at 47.6, currently the fastest lap time of the race, while Verstappen not only is struggling to stay close to him and locks up into the first corner, but seems to be losing ground to the Italian drivers. So, currently, not a very nice position or situation for the Aussie drivers, but surely that's gonna turn around maybe later on, maybe saving tires, we don't know yet. And, you know, 18 minutes is still a very long time, and mistakes can very much happen. Martisax instead in P3, currently enjoying life, 7 seconds ahead. It's very difficult to keep up with the leaders, but also 4 seconds behind, so it's very easy also to just look at Lotus and, you know, feel relaxed, because he doesn't seem to be able to catch up with the pace he's currently having. 2-3 also just seen Shine just behind, pulling away currently from his teammate, trying to close that 7 seconds gap between him and, of course, his teammate. Another thing to keep in mind, of course, is Aka, because Aka currently, maybe for the setup or you know, whatever reason, is missing quite a lot of pace, and as you can see from the minimap, he's gonna get lapped quite soon by the teammates. I mean, by the teammates, by Thomas and Verstappen quite soon. And, you know, lapping, I don't know how the blue flags rules are on this championship. They should be just, you know, don't get in the way of the car ahead. But this could end up being quite, you know, a spicy situation for the leaders. So we move back for the time being to Thomas, because Lotus, as you can see, is still 3 seconds behind Martisax, and 2-3 is 9 seconds, so the gap increased. And actually, I think there was a mistake, because I saw some position getting switched here. Not sure what happened, maybe it was a bug with the current leaderboard, but that's okay for the time being. Now, we move back, of course, to Thomas, who is currently leading, still lapping in the 47.9, so very incredible, I gotta say, race pace. And I think there's a yellow flag ahead, because I can see the car number 7 stuck on track, trying now to get back onto the racing line. And of course, the leaders right behind, getting close to him, and also Vico very close to the wall. I gotta say, he's taking the famous saying, "Kiss the wall like you're kissing your sister" from Madagascar, quite on the literal sense. So as Aka now on the main straight looks at Piccolo getting close to him, we go on board with the Italian driver to see if the blue flag situation is gonna get resolved, you know, quite easily, or if it's gonna be some drama. I think it's gonna pull out of the way quite easily onto the braking point. I don't see any drama forming, and thankfully the number 64 is able to continue his lead without any drama. Back to Vigo, because now his turn now to lap the car number 7, which is not the number 7, but it's the 7th place of Aka. And now into that section, you can see the difference in lines between the two cars, and is able to get onto a very dramatic and hitful occasion with the other driver. I think, hopefully, that's not going to be reported, because I think possibly Vigo should have been a little bit more cautious on that, but thankfully no harm done for both drivers, so everything is fine. All the while that happens, Lotus and Martisax still keeping the battle close with 3 seconds gap between the two of them. So let's go maybe back to Lotus to see if he's able to close back. A bit of oversteer into the breaking point, maybe a lock onto the rear. And now he's trying to chase Multisax as best as he could. Well, 2-3 and Mikolai are still behind and not able to catch ground to the... I don't know what kind of nation is Lotus from. I think it's British, I'm not sure. But still, Lotus, currently P4, getting the best of his life to try and catch to the drivers ahead. Mikolai, another driver very close to the cars ahead, running a very nice race, currently P6, getting some nice points for his team, and possibly not getting the breaking point for T1 very nice, but that's an issue for another day. We move back maybe to number 3, Multisax, currently reaching the Audi of Arca, struggling a lot, but not as much as Multisax onto the rear, because that was very close to a spin. And now, onto the main straight, I think Arca is using maybe some push to pass. It's hard to tell. He's slowly pulling a little bit away, but that also could be due to the fact that Multisax had a little bit of a wiggle onto the power, but it seems like he let him by, so blue flags got respected quite easily. And now, as Multisax runs away, the next up on the line to have a blue flag situation is, of course, Lotus. In the meanwhile, Verstappen gained back some time on Thomas. He's now 2-point-something seconds, but he loses every time onto the breaking point of the last corner, so that is surely not helping his cause to race for the race win. Also, Mikolai had a mistake in T1, and now he's able to rejoin the track quite safely. Thankfully, no harm done once again. Back to Lotus, back to the helmet cam of Lotus to see how he handles the blue flag situation, if he's able actually to move on without any drama, or if he's gonna have to look at our friend Linus Tech Tips in a different way when he goes by. Onto the breaking point for T1. Very nice. Onto the gas on the exit, hopefully. Yeah, a little bit of a power slide, a big one. But thankfully, no harm done. And now he's having to follow the Audi right ahead. So, right-hander here. Left-hander here, very close to the wall. Thankfully, the Audi moves out of the way and is able to continue without any drama as well. So, big props, of course, to Arca to being able to not cause any drama. And trust me, it is way harder than you think it is. And now the situation looks to be quite calm here on this race. So we got Thomas still leading the race, Vigo right behind in P2, then Multisax in P3, running away from Lotus, who got a little bit closer, now 2.9 seconds, so maybe the blue flag situation got him a little bit closer to possibly a podium. Then 23 seconds behind 2-3, surely not enjoying his time with his car, but neither is his teammate, who is also gonna get lapped quite soon. And also, of course, Haka, who is just surviving, I think, the hardship of this car. Anyway, back to Thomas. And back to Vigo. Both of them trying their best to gain. To find something. To find possibly some lap time. To gain back the time they are, you know, missing between each other. And of course, waiting to stuff to happen. No, everything can happen. We still have blue flags to be lapped. So, you never know. Everything is not written, and as you can see, Thomas is now getting close, of course, to Zukovic for a lapping maneuver. So another time, we're gonna have a look at another overtaking maneuver, which is not really an overtaking maneuver. And Lotus, in the meanwhile, is actually gaining a little bit more to Multisax. I wonder if the medium choice for his tires is actually paying off, because I think the tire wear should not be that high. But it seems like that actually Lotus is finding a little bit more groove and is starting to gain back to the agile teammate of Thomas. So, as Thomas, once again struggling a bit on the gas, goes onto the main straight, followed by the Red Bull liveried Max Verstappen, who's getting a bit close now, but I think not close. Currently, Verstappen lapped into the 48.0, while instead Thomas in the 48.2, so yes, there was a little bit of a gain from, of course, our Belgian friend. This battle may end up being a bit closer in the end phase. Of course, Thomas is possibly pushing as hard as possible, so it's not going to be an easy win for him. 10 minutes left, and he still has to commit no mistakes, such as that one, of course. And Verstappen seems to be getting a little bit more comfortable with the car as the laps go by, so maybe the battle for the lead is not decided just yet. I think Verstappen may be starting to gain back some of the time he's lost at the start. Once again, this part of the track seems the one he struggles the most, but this time out he seems to be able to stay close. And I think he gained back some time. Not sure if that's because of the mistake from Thomas, because from my point of view, it didn't seem to be making that much of a mistake from him. but he seems to be getting closer and closer. Maybe the tires are a bit different. Maybe he's able to conserve the tires better than Thomas, and this is paying back him. But of course, that's difficult to be said. And as we said before, there's a blue flag car right ahead who's gonna get very close to this group quite soon, and that is, of course, Zukovic. Ooh, that's a big understeer, and that's gonna cost him quite a lot. So the time gained from Verstappen gets lost once again. And now Thomas, onto the braking point, sees the blue and white car of Mikolaj getting onto the main straight. And I think he's close enough to get some DRS, which should be a very nice little something to have in this kind of situation. Of course, to get the overtaking maneuver done. So as Thomas actually answered back with a 47.4 as a fastest lap, Verstappen wasn't surely able to, you know, answer that, because that was a 48.0, due courtesy, of course, of the wall bang he had on the exit of the second sector. And now Thomas has to contend with some blue flagged car, and this is not something he wants, and this is something he surely does not want to see. Thankfully, the other car, Mikolaj, moves out of the way, but of course some damage has been done to the race time, and I think Max is gonna capitalize on that to get a bit more close to him. But now, of course, he also has to overtake the blue flag car, and let's have a look if he's gonna be able to do that. And the answer is, I think he's gonna move out of the way, so yes, he is. But of course, onto the traction, he's not able to gain too much time, because the gap seems to stay around 2.4 seconds. So, battles on the timers for the time being. This is the kind of race one we're having, and 9 minutes left onto the clock before the race ends. Also, interestingly, I gotta say, Thomas is moving to lap Aka once again. So Aka is gonna move 2 laps down in this sprint race, which is, well, indicating how much he's struggling currently with the setup and the car. And this is, of course, making the race for the leaders a little bit more difficult, because they have to contend more than just pure pace with the cars around on the track, of course, as well. But, you know, life is a race, and races are not predictables. So as Thomas takes maybe the braking point a little bit too harsh, he moves onto the main straight, gets onto the gas quite easily. Also, you can hear from the audio, he's overshooting a little bit the gear change, because you can see a little bit of pops from his car, which is what happens when you hit the rev limiter with your car, which is something you should not do, really. But, you know, everyone has its own, I think. So, onto the exit, trying to overtake the Audi, and yes, a bit of contact as well, so the Audi moves out of the way, but of course that's a bit of a difficult situation for him. And ooh, that's a big hit from the Wolf by Harka. And I don't know if he's gonna be able to restart after that one. That was a very harsh one, but yeah, he's gonna be able. And please be careful for the other cars joining, because Martisax is coming and he's not gonna like the situation he's finding ahead of him. But he's gonna be able to move through the blue flags as well, quite easily. Hopefully, yes. And yeah, thankfully the Audi driver managed to get back into the racing speed before the P number 3 and P number 4 reached him. And now onto the braking point. How is the Audi driver gonna do? Well, Martisax is moving quite aggressively onto the braking to try and find a way through, but thankfully onto the exit he's able to pull the trigger first and get away easily. Now back to Lotus. This is the only overtaking action sadly we're having on track, but you know, we take some overtaking when it happens. Verstappen in the meanwhile managed to gain back on Thomas quite nicely, gotta say. Maybe Thomas made a mistake, not sure, we're gonna find out soon. But in the meanwhile, Lotus onto T1, get the exit a little bit sideways, but is able, once again, to chase after the Audi. 7 minutes left, one more lapping maneuver to be done. And as I can see from the minimap, I think the leader should have a clean track for mostly of the race, really. I don't see them, you know, getting more traffic for the time being. Of course, if I'm right, you never really know. But as you can see now, Lotus should have DRS on the Audi, should get open here. Yes, the Audi does, I think it does open, because the DRS gap is 3 seconds, if I remember correctly. But still, getting the slipstream, maybe use some push to pass, I'm not sure about that. It's gonna move out the inside for T1, brake very late, a little bit too aggressive, but I think that's gonna be right enough to get the maneuver done, and the Audi is not possibly gonna fight back too much. And thus, Lotus is true and safely over the lapped car. Now, let's move back to Max Verstappen, because, well, the gap moved back to 2.5 seconds, but it was down to 1.8. A bit behind, maybe made a mistake this time around, hard to tell. So as they move on to the start-finish straight, 47.7 by Thomas, followed by 47.8 by Verstappen. So very closely and evenly matched. But of course, Verstappen seemed to be lacking that little bit of top-end, you know, pace that could help him actually fight for the lead. Still, of course, we have to consider that he's still there, and of course, a little bit mistake from Thomas could still cost him the win at this point, despite the 13 seconds gap from P3. That's the beauty of racing. Sometimes you don't see battle on track, but it's more of a psychological battle, and you know that these two guys are fighting for their life, trying to find every single tenth they can while fighting for the lead, and this is also quite showed quite well by the glowing red discs from Max Verstappen, and of course by how much Thomas is pushing that car to the limit by pushing some smoke when braking. Anyway, 2.0 seconds, once again, the gap between the two, and they seem to be catching car number 5, 2-3, but I think they're not going to be able to catch him before the end of the race. So while these two still race, the other close battle we got on track is of course Lotus versus Matisax, but as you can see the gap is still quite big, so I don't expect this one to be quite an exciting fight. They are still getting close, of course, to P number 6, which is Suzukovic, which is gonna get lapped at this point, but this guy is here. But still, with 4 minutes left, hard to tell if that's gonna be the deciding factor or not. Back to Verstappen, because once again, Sector 2 seems to be his strongest suit. He gained back some time to Thomas, but loses it once again onto turn 1 and turn number 3. Maybe he's lacking something on acceleration. Difficult to say. Maybe Thomas is just better to get some traction down compared to him, but it's difficult to say. There's also, of course, setup changes and something between everything. So we have no way to know for certain. And as Verstappen drifts out of T1, the two drivers get into the sectors number 2, which is the one where Verstappen seemed to be the strongest. Yes, he's getting very close to the wall every time. And as you can see, maybe from the gap, he's still very close to Thomas, but maybe Thomas made a better job this time as well, because the gap seems to stay the same. 3 minutes and 50 seconds left. The bets are on, but I think this time the race can be almost written off. But yet, with these lap times and these laps being this short, of course, nothing is written until the checkered flag is shown. While this happens, I'm gonna have a look at something I've been pinged, so yeah, real quick look at that. And while this happens, also Lotus is now getting quite close to Matisax, 2.5 seconds, again back half a second, and maybe, just maybe now, are the medium tires shining? Are they getting some rhythm back? Are they actually managing the driver here to get back into contention for a fight for the podium? While that happens, Matisax now has to contend instead with a blue flag of Zuko. So, 2.2 seconds, yeah, Lotus is clearly getting back, but that's also maybe due to the fact that Matisax is surely trying to stay as careful as possible while getting some blue flags, and thankfully, Zuko moves out of the way from him, and likely from Lotus as well. Hard to tell, Lotus is getting close, but I think he's gonna get by quite easily. Yes, he is. So, gap 1.8 seconds, now he's getting once again close. And at the breaking point, you can see how easily Lotus is turning the car and getting onto the traction. So hard to tell, but once again, Matisax manages to stay ahead by just 2 seconds. So not able to get as close as much as possible, and possibly enough for making an attack maneuver for the time being. Back to Thomas, and just in time, because we can see Verstappen is pushing a little bit too hard and hits the wall once again. So not able to catch the Italian driver ahead. And as Thomas now goes onto the gas, on the exit, is he gonna be able to stay ahead? Now the gap becomes 2.4 seconds, so Vigo clearly struggling, but still able to keep up the pace with the Italian driver. While this happens, maybe we move back a little bit to Lotus, because he's in a similar situation, chasing an agile car and doing his best to catch back up, but still struggling in some part of the track to get the traction down and possibly catch the Italians, and actually in this case, sorry, not really an Italian driver, but still trying to catch the blue and white car ahead to get into the podium. Both fights happening on track at the same time. Also, we should keep in mind though that Matisax, if I remember correctly, should have a penalty for the DRS usage. So maybe Lotus doesn't really need to overtake him on track. You should be just enough to stay inside the 2 seconds window. So this should be almost enough to get the position from him. But of course, that's gonna be difficult to be said from this point of view. Matisax at this point, well, he's gonna have quite a tall order ahead of him. Also, Verstappen lost another second. Not sure what happened. Possibly another mistake onto the S section. Difficult to say. And also, Aka is into the wall. And I think that's a retirement from the Audi driver. So, sad moment, of course, for the Audi factory here in Germany. But BMW are currently dominating the Constructor Championship. And as for Team Championship, well, this looks like a blow for East Aussie Racing by the Agile team. Because as this happens, Lotus actually lost a second as well from Martisax, so he's struggling as well. And Thomas seems to be loving life, because although he is having a little bit of wiggles out of the corners, he's finding the car a bit easier to drive, and Verstappen gets a second penalty, which is gonna matter very little considering the gap from P3. But still, maybe it's just a show of how frustrating this race is turning out to be for him. Now, 25 seconds left. This could be potentially the last lap of the race. We're gonna have a look quite soon. But let's stay with Thomas as he goes through the Sector 2 for potentially the last time. We're gonna find out quite soon, but I think it's gonna be possibly the last lap of the race. And as he goes onto the gas, he chases after, I think that's 2-3. Yes, that's 2-3, of course. 3 seconds. This is, yes, surely gonna be the last lap. He brakes for the last corner. And the first race, as he gets a little bit of a power slide here, the first race of 2 of the Norisring for the DTM for TSRB is won by Thomas Piccolo. Followed closely by, of course, Max Verstappen, who's finishing in P2. Then we got the battle between Martisax and Lotus got into the 2 seconds window, so this is gonna be quite a close finish between the two. Is this enough for Lotus to get into P3? Because Martisax, I don't think he did quite a good job enough in this last lap, and although it finishes the lap in P3, he has 1 second of penalty, and I think that's gonna be just enough to keep Lotus out of the P3 contention. Lotus finishes in P4, and then we got Mikolai finishing, it shows in P5, but that's because he's lapped, and then 2-3 finishing actually in P number 6. Also Lotus has a second penalty, so yeah, that was not really as close as I thought. And 2-3 finishes in P5, while Mikolai exits from the server, despite finishing in P number 6. So, the race results for race 1 are done, and now we wait for race number 2 to be done. Well, of course, Thomas, let's say, is happy enough, of course, for his results, and is showing by destroying what's left of the soft tires on the rears. Now, Mikolai thankfully comes back, so he's gonna possibly be here for race number 2 as well. And now, of course, we wait all together for the race start of race number 2, and with a little bit of crashes, of course, between the Audi and the BMWs, we wait. Well, what's gonna be possibly a very harsh, or really, I don't know, something, race number 2. So everyone goes back into the pit lane, except of course from Martisax and the other drivers getting a little bit of something there on track. There's also 2-3, also apparently happy for P number 5. And also P number 7, Arca, doing the same thing. So yeah, everyone getting some rubber burnt in onto the track. And also some metal shapes onto the barriers as well. So as 2-3 likely is going to go into the pit lane now, hopefully. He's waiting onto the track, not sure why. And yeah, everyone is back onto the pit lane. And we wait, for the time being, for race number 2, which is going to be the decider, of course, for the championship. No, I just made that up, of course, but yeah, you get the point. While that happens, I'm going to have a quick look at both the chat and of course the server to see if something has been written or if something has been said between the drivers. And the answer is nope, nothing has been said. Everything is fine, everything is alright. So we now wait, of course, for race number 2, with Thomas starting from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a reverse grid or not, but we're gonna find out soon, of course. And everyone else without an occasion, of course, to fight back and see if they are able to do a better job compared to race number 1. So we are back. Currently it shows us possibly the same grid as race 1. Actually, it says that the top 27 should be reversed, so maybe that is the thing. So yeah, possibly showing just the results of race 1, so my bad on that, of course. And yes, I got confirmation from Assetto Corsa that possibly race number 2 is going to be reversed. So we're going to see some deep fried shit in lap number 1 and 2. But later on, things should be a little bit more calm. This, of course, is a nice occasion for Vigo to get his revenge. And of course, for people to try and get an higher position compared to race number 1. Not many drivers, of course, today, but that's alright, I gotta say. We race with those we get stuff done. We got, racing in America. We got, gentlemen, start your engines. Let's just go to Hobby and do some shit, I guess. So yeah, you get the idea. We here in the American part of Germany. I think I don't remember where the Berlin Wall is compared to Norisring, but that's not the point, of course. Maybe for someone it's only P5. For me, it's P5. Yeah, that I absolutely get that. And a position is a position. Points are points, and drivers are drivers. But you know what else is something else? This race. This race is absolutely gonna be something once we get it underway. So with 8 seconds left, we get ready for race number 2. And we are now onto the grid. Hopefully I am not in pole position. Thankfully I am on the back of the grid, and I'm gonna go back into the pit lane because I would be a little bit in the middle of everything. But we got a little bit of a backed, let's say, leaderboard, because although it says that 2-3 starting in pole position, I think Arca is currently starting in pole position, and I'm quite sure by what I'm looking at. 2-3 is gonna start in P2, then Lotus is not gonna start in P3, is gonna start in P4. But instead, Nikolai is starting in P2. This is all wrong. This is all wrong for some reason. So, yeah, ignore the leaderboard for the time being. It's still a rolling start, so we're going to see that quite soon and quite well. Hopefully, Arca is able to get the starting procedure right. And as we wait 10 more seconds for the lights to get red and then, of course, black, we get ready for another rolling start. And there we are. Arca gets a drive-through immediately. I think it jumped the starting procedure. Lotus getting a little bit, off with cold tires. And while this happens, we're gonna have a look at the tires selection, because I wonder if we're gonna see the same thing. And the answer is, yeah, Lotus decides that mediums are not worth the risk and is gonna stay onto the softs for this race. So maybe that's gonna be a deciding factor to get a better solution for this next, of course, race. So let's go back into interval, of course, and let's have a look at this. Well, it's looking quite strange as a racing procedure, but hopefully it's gonna stay nicely. Thomas is falling away quite a bit. I wonder if he's trying to do something with real penalty. Maybe he should catch back up to the grid, because otherwise the starting procedure will start, and if he's too far away, or either he's getting too fast onto the gas, he's gonna have, of course, a drive-through, which is something you don't kind of want in a 27 minutes race, actually 25. Anyway, the grid is getting, ready. Thomas seems to be onto the back of the grid, so everything is right. So, people should get the pit limiter thingy now. Yes, they have. So everyone is getting ready for a race start. The formation is looking a little bit off, but that's alright in my opinion. And now we wait for the start of race number 2. We should get a very loud beep very soon, so sorry for your ears, of course. 80 kilometers per hour, a very strange grid start, of course. Bad sound here, and now we wait for the green flag to be shown now. So the race is now underway. We got a drive-through for Nikolai for jumping the start, and now chaos is underway because Thomas is trying to find Vigo and everyone into T1. A very big dive bomb from Thomas that gets him into maybe P2, battle between the Audi and also Lotus for the lead. Does the Audi wiggles too much onto braking? Vigo also gets back into P2 by fighting Thomas and fighting finally into a podium position. Meanwhile, Lotus leads, and also Martizax is able to follow his teammate into P number 4, while the two power cars are still onto the back of the grid. So now Lotus is looking behind him and watching in terror as Vigo tries to have a dive bomb, and a successful one. Now onto the gas. Are they both able to not spin out? The answer is yes, and Lotus is able to stay ahead just barely, as the two other drivers are now trying the best to get into the slipstream and maybe break as late as possible into T1. Everyone is very close. Vigo drives into the inside. This is gonna be a very big braking maneuver. Yes, it is. Vigo is trying his absolute best to do that. Thomas waits for his occasion, stays close to them, but is not able to complete the maneuver. Very big wiggly position, also a bit of chaos behind, as you can see Martizax fighting with the Audi driver. And now, as Lotus is defending from Vigo to get into P1, Vigo is able to complete the maneuver around the outside, and now also Thomas has a look at them, but is not able to complete the maneuver. Now Lotus trying to get into the DRS, and also of course the fighting position, while Martizax is having a fight right behind, but we're gonna stay of course onto the fight here, as we say maybe from the onboard from 2-3 what's happening behind. behind. But we have a look at Lotus trying now to fight Vigo and also trying to find Thomas, while Vigo takes the occasion to run away in P1 as fast as possible. DRS open both for the Italian driver and the Lotus driver, which I don't know what nationality he is from. But onto the main straight, as the otherwise behind are having a 3 wide. We see here is there's a dive, maybe, no, there is not. So we move back here for this fight here between the 2 drivers. As of course one of the 3 gets onto this. Oh no, wait, what happened here? Vigo spun into P1 and from P1 into T1, so he is back into P3. So Thomas now fighting with Lotus for P1. Is he gonna try round outside? Yes, he is. This is a bold maneuver, but somehow he's able to pull it out. And is Lotus gonna be able to fight it back? The answer is yes. He's trying his absolute best to get into the braking point for the last corner. He's gonna be brave enough to stay there and stick the car into the last position he can. He's trying his best now onto the gas. He's gonna be careful, a very big power slide, but he's able to get into P2. But now with DRS and maybe push to pass, he's gonna be able to do something. Let's go on board with him. Right now Thomas is pulling away, so possibly he's using push to pass as well. Fastest lap from both drivers. Is he gonna try and dive it? He's absolutely gonna do that. He's diving it. He's diving it. And there's a block pass maneuver from the BMW driver, and now Vigo is back into it with a power slide. The battle for P1 is absolutely on, and also there's a spin. I think to 3 spun away, and Multisax is now into P4. But let's go back for the battle for the lead, because Lotus is fighting for his life for this position. Big power slide onto the exit, and now all 3 of them are very close together into 1 second worth of gap. Is this something gonna happen into the last corner? I think there is, because Verstappen is looking very close. He's gonna try around the outside, but so Thomas is also trying around the inside, and it's a very aggressive maneuver. But Lotus is gonna fight back. Let's go on board with Vigo to see the whole action. And now Lotus surely is gonna try once again a diving maneuver for the lead. He's worked before, he's gonna work now. He's gonna brake late, it is, but it's not gonna be late enough. And now he's gonna have to contend, of course, for P number 2 as Vigo now gets the better exit onto the exit and fights for the position number 2 onto the S section, but is not able to pull through. So now dives down the inside. Is gonna be able to stay here? The answer is yes. For the time being, Lotus tries to get a better exit onto the on the exit of the section, but he's not able for the time being, or maybe not. Let's have a look on board. He's getting closer. He's gonna dive it. He decides to brake later, actually brake earlier, so my bad on that. He gets close onto the hairpin, down to the gas, but it's very difficult. And now with the DRS that's gonna get open now for both drivers, I think Vigo is gonna have this one covered quite easily. So Lotus on board with him, he's trying his best, and now Verstappen is in a very familiar situation. P2 chasing for P1 from Thomas with a very fast driver behind. In the meanwhile, Arca disconnects from the server, so it's another DNF from the Audi boy. And in the meanwhile, a very difficult situation for Lotus as he tries to get the power down and is able not to spin out. So he stays close to the P2 and the P1 driver, but he's still content, of course, for P number 3, while Multisax behind is just 5.8 seconds, and he's gonna have a tall order to climb back the mountain he has ahead. What a couple of starting lap these were. And now, as this war is now underway, we wonder if Verstappen, with all the experience gained in race number 1, is going to be able to fight back and maybe get into the position to fight with Thomas once again. Lotus surely is not letting this one slide, and is going to try his absolute best to get as closely as possible to these guys here. In the meanwhile, Nikolai, I just saw he had some issues, but he seems to be fighting currently with his teammates. So let's have a look at this fight here, because I'm not sure if he's actually lapped or the leaderboard is lying, because Nikolai, if I saw correctly, he had a drive-through, so maybe, just maybe, he is not fighting for position, maybe just trying to get unlapped somehow. While this happens, we move back to Lotus, because he's close to Vigo, and Vigo is not as close to Thomas. Thomas seems to have once again the ultimate pace to run away, and Multisax seems to be closing a little bit to Lotus and possibly Vigo as well, but it's hard to tell. It's very early in the race to know if the pace is going to be good enough for Multisax to catch these guys here. And as we can see, Verstappen has a very good exit out of the last corner, and Lotus, although he has DRS, cannot really gain too much time, because of course also Vigo has DRS. So the difference between the two drivers is nullified on the straight by this little factor, and maybe push to pass can help a little bit with that, but it's not crucial enough to gain a significant advantage and get into, of course, an overtaking opportunity maneuver. All the while, Multisax, gained some time and now lost some time, so this is the only battle we have on track for the time being. Let's move to a different camera to have maybe something to see with a different lens, let's say, and look at maybe Verstappen as he tries desperately to stay close to Thomas, as Lotus instead gets very close, and I wonder, is he gonna use push to pass now to try and maneuver? I wonder maybe Vigo is gonna use push to pass to move away. That's possibly a very nice solution, and possibly it could be a solution also for Lotus, as he sets the fastest lap currently, 47.6. So I wonder, is Lotus maybe trying to get Vigo to burn off all his pushed passes, to maybe try and do something? Well, that power slide surely is showing that he's pushing as well very hard. But as every driver now gets into the S section here, we know that it's not very easy to overtake with these cars, and of course it's not very easy to get stuff done. So now Verstappen gets a little bit of a braking space because Lotus lost a bit of time in that section, but he's still very close to the Belgian driver, and surely he's gonna try his best to do something. He's very good on the braking of the last corner, but sadly he loses most time onto the exit, and as you know, one of the rules in racing is slow in, fast out, and for the time being it seems that fast in and slow out is not working out too well for him. So let's go on board with him as Verstappen answered to the fast lap with another fast lap of his. Let's have a look. It shows that he has 12 push to passes, so some has been used, but not all of them. And as he has a bit, of course, of a power slide and a wall bank there, he's still keeping quite close, but also Verstappen is keeping quite close to Thomas. So the battle for the lead, I think it's not over quite yet. We're gonna have to keep a look, and ooh, big mistake by Vigo, and is Lotus gonna capitalize on this? Well, he's gonna try, surely. Surely he's gonna try and have a look. Vigo concedes the outside of the last corner, which is of course not very easy to use for overtaking. And as both of them break into the air, Vigo tries his best to keep the defensive maneuver going even with a power slide, but I think Lotus is gonna be able to stay close, but not close enough to complete the maneuver. But now with DRS and possibly push to pass active, I wonder if he's gonna be able to possibly attack into turn number 1. This of course is helping Thomas to run away, which is something Vigo surely does not want. And now Lotus breaks very late into T number 1, the two of them going side by side, but Vigo once again with the inside is able to keep his head ahead and of course keep the position number 2. All the while Martizax is not able to capitalize as well, and is just 6 seconds behind, is still losing times to the leaders, so surely P4 is possibly the best he can hope for. And these two are surely still fighting, and Vigo also has to wonder if that gap for the DRS for the main straight is gone, because I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 seconds, but surely being more than 1 second away from from Thomas is not gonna help. And now Lotus surely is gonna have DRS, and not sure if Vigo is gonna have as well. Seems like not from my point of view, and I wonder if the difference in top speed is gonna be enough for Lotus to try something. Vigo defends the inside, Lotus tries once again around the outside. Is this gonna be the overtaking maneuver he's looking for? Both of them go wide into turn number 1, but sometimes Lotus tries to get into the power earlier. They are still side by side. I think Lotus is not ahead, but tries now to dive down the inside of the S section, but it's a little bit of an optimistic move, and Vigo is able to stay ahead once more. This is turning up into an uphill fight for Vigo, and a very exciting one for Lotus, who is currently fighting not just for P number 2, but even for P number 3. So yeah, a podium position is very much on the cards, and it's just up to him to see how high he can actually fly. So DRS gets open once again. Let's on board with Lotus once again. I wonder how much push to pass he has. We're gonna find out later with helmet cam, but for the time being, we're gonna have a look if he's gonna be able to do something. Both of them to the braking point, very close to each other. DRS doesn't seem to be too effective this time around. As you can see from up on the right hand side, the wind is actually going southwest, which is pushing against them on the main straight, which is surely helping the DRS to work a little bit better. As I said in a current video quite soon, actually a very recent video, I said that having the wind ahead and going against you on the main straight is surely helping in battling during race. But surely it's not showing the effect that Vigo and surely Lotus was hoping for. So onto the braking point, a bit of a blocking onto the rear for Lotus, and very difficult to get, of course, the power down as we saw before. But now DRS gets open. Let's see if he's able to catch back a little bit. Yes, surely he is gaining, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's also that's the push to pass, and Vigo is trying to defend the maneuver, to defend the attack, of course, by going down the inside. Lotus once again gonna try down the side, but I don't think that's gonna work. It didn't work the first time, it didn't work the second time, and I don't think this is gonna work the third time. Is he gonna try and maybe another dive down the inside here? That's gonna be, of course, a little bit too optimistic, but nope, that's not gonna work, and that's not gonna be done. Now I wonder, after the first time that maneuver didn't work, after the second time, is Lotus gonna try something else? Let's go on board with the helmet cam. I wonder if he's gonna try a dive here. Surely he's braking quite late, is trying to stay out the outside, getting a bit of a power slide, maybe a bit too power lost. 10 push passes left. DRS gets open. I wonder if he's gonna use another one. I think he's just using the DRS. I think he is. Just the DRS is getting him close enough to maybe try maneuver. And this time he's aiming for the inside. And this time Viggo has not defended that one for some reason. He's trying for the switchback. Is this gonna work? I think Viggo has a better solution for the traction, but that's not gonna work too well. Maybe because now Lotus is gonna try to break down the inside, but somehow Viggo is able to get the traction down better, and of course use that to his advantage to get back into P2. So this is turning out into quite a dogfight between the two drivers. So Belgium versus, I don't know, maybe Britain. I'm not sure where Lotus is from. Hopefully he's not gonna get offended, so I'm just gonna call him Scottish as he dives down the inside and gets, with all the might and all the force, the position, but surely now Viggo is going to use his push to pass to get back. So the battle continues, and down the straight with DRS this time on Lotus, because the detection point was before, we wonder if Verstappen, or Viggo if you rather prefer, is going to try something. And the answer is, he is going to try an off-rotor look, both block up the tires, and somehow is able to get down the inside, both slits off some tires on the traction. And I wonder if Lotus is going to be able to defend. Surely he's going to keep the inside, but I wonder if Viggo is going to try around the outside. The answer is yes. This once again very close between the two of them. But this time around, it's Viggo that gets ahead. This is turning out to be quite a difficult fight for Lotus. But surely he's not letting this one slide. So is Lotus going to be able to dive down the inside this time around? The answer is no. He's going to try onto the braking to get once again traction before Lotus. Sorry, before Viggo, and thus Thomas instead is just singing payphone on this car. We have a look at these two drivers. Is this gonna be another maneuver down the straight? I don't think so. I think Lotus is a little bit too far away this time around, and maybe he's not able to complete the maneuver. Although he's braking a little bit too late, he's gonna be able to catch that back up, maybe on the exit. The answer is yes, although with a very big tank slapper, and that's gonna hurt a little bit, but not hurt enough to not allow him to fight back once again. So with the DRS, of course, in his hands, surely he's gonna be able to do something, but he should keep the pressure up, because we know how much faster Viggo can be, and surely he knows that he does not want him to be running away freely as much as he's doing right now. So as we go on to the hairpin once again, Lotus using every inch of the track, and surely Thomas using every single tenth of the track, Viggo is still able to pull ahead with some superior traction, and now he can breathe a little bit more after that long fight he had with Lotus. So, as they both break, Lotus breaks way later! Jesus, that was a dive bomb and a half, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna spell doom for Lotus, because that's gonna lose him time, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be recoverable from his point of view. That was a little bit of a desperate maneuver, if you ask me, maybe accidental, but surely that is gonna spell doom for his racing occasion for P number 2. So, as the fight seems to be coming to an end, the situation gets a little bit, you know, more calm, more easy to read, let's say. And as I missed Thomas actually overtaking Mikolai on the missed race, so blue flags once again getting in the middle of this race for the lead, we go back maybe to Lotus, because surely he's still using DRS to try maybe something to get close to Viggo, but I'm quite sure on pure pace maybe Viggo should have the situation under control, and with another too big of a braking maneuver, I think this is gonna spell doom for Lotus. So he's gonna look as the Belgian driver is gonna drive away with his Red Bull liveried BMW and get closer to what's possibly gonna be, oh, well, a wall for the time being, but possibly a little bit of hope in the form of the blue flags of Mikolai, which is the only thing that possibly can bring him back into the fight. So as Mikolai actually, I think he's moving out of the way. I'm not sure, maybe he had a little bit of a bad exit out of the last corner. He looks as Verstappen and Lotus gets close behind and get ready possibly for another overtaking maneuver for the blue flags. So once again onto the braking, Mikolai moves quite swiftly out of the way. Lotus gets close as well, and yeah, both of them move out of the way. And wait a minute, I just noticed something. Oh, okay, I didn't see the Giga Kubica on the roof of the car, but we did now, so yeah, my bad if I missed that, of course, on the broadcast, but we, of course, had some remedy for that. And so, as now Lotus seems to be dropping away from Viggo, possibly, you know, with a little bit of pace that was missing during qualifying as well, he's surely very content with P3, and now he's gonna try his best to keep the 8 seconds gap from Martin Sachs behind as high as possible. So it's getting once again some use of the DRS from Max Verstappen or Viggo ahead is gonna be able, of course, to stay once again a little bit more close and clear to the race pace of Martisax. But of course, that's gonna matter a little bit less, considering that he's not gonna be able to fight for Pichu for as long as he possibly have wanted. Although that was one hell of a battle, and possibly one to remember. All the while that happens, P1, Thomas Piccolo, absolutely unbothered, power sliding his way out of the last corner, 10 seconds ahead of Pico, courtesy of that big fight we saw before. He's currently lapping in pure calm and trying just to, not make any mistakes. I think he's possibly not pushing too much. 47.5 is still a very impressive lap time for racing, I gotta say, considering his lap time in qualifying was a 47.4, so pulling out some qualifying laps in race stream, so something to keep in mind. Verstappen behind, 48.2, now he's in clean air, so no big, let's say, excuses, but still racing very fast. And Lotus behind in the 48.0, actually went a little bit faster than Verstappen, maybe he made a mistake on that lap. Likely, yes, it's very easy to hit the wall here on the exit, as we saw very much a lot of times. Then, of course, in P4 we got Martisax, 49.4 is his current, race pace. And now he's catching also another car to lap. And while that happens, the last car on the current lead lap is 2-3. The teammate, of course, of Mikolai. Still staying in P5, and as I said before, it may be P5 for some drivers, but still P5 is very good points, so he's very happy for that. While that happens, we move back to Lotus, because he's trying once again to gain back. Currently 48.4 is his lap time, while instead Bigo is in 48.2, so once again, the lap time he's lost before, he's now getting back, so he's able to go as fast as possible. And we're gonna move back to the onboard cam to see. He has just 3 push-to-pass left, so he used quite a lot in the battle, and surely he's using them to, lap and get some good laps in to maybe try and catch Thomas in some form, if possible. Well, instead, I wonder, Lotus, behind, has 7, actually 6, don't even try to joke about that, push-to-pass lefts, which one being used right now to try to stay close to Vico right ahead. So, let's stay on board maybe for a lap with him, as he tries desperately to get close. And of course I can think, and I can see now, the butchered braking point being to the fact that, of course, push to pass makes you go faster, and because of that you kinda have to brake a little bit earlier than you wanted onto some of the brakes, having heavy braking points. A little bit of a touch of the wall there, that surely isn't helping. And thus, I think now Lotus is gonna get out of the DRS zone quite soon. So, 5 minutes left, 6 minutes actually, a little bit less than 6, onto this race. Things are looking quite calm, and the grid is looking quite set for a finish. And thus, we wait to see how this is gonna end. I mean, I think we can kinda bet on who's gonna win this one. But of course, it's still a very nice little battle we had. Sometimes reverse grid are nice. I personally hate them, to race them on, because I'm not a very good driver in wheel-to-wheel, but that's a skill issue, as we say. And so, as Lotus tries his best to chase after Verstappen, we have a look once again at our leader. Of course, Thomas, who made possibly our last first challenge in this race, now trying to run away, possibly going to lap 2-3 if he pushes hard enough, but I think that's gonna be unlikely. And keeping his Pichu safe. I wonder how many push-to-passes he's used. Let's have a look from the helmet cam. The answer is, well, quite a lot, because he has just 5 push-to-pass left. So he is surely pushing as well, although not too hard. Now Lotus also gained a bit of time back on Verstappen, but I feel like that's also due to both DRS and possibly a mistake from Vigo, so no big issue. We're gonna have a look at them right now, but I don't expect a big drama. Yes, as you can see, the gap seems to be still the same. And thus, both drivers go into the last corner and try the best now to get onto the main straight. We go back to Martisax, because right now he's gonna lap our friend Nikolai right ahead. Let's go on board with him for the time being to see if the lapping maneuver is gonna go quite nicely and cleanly, or if it's gonna be some drama. I think Nikolai showed that he's quite an aware driver, so he's not gonna bother Martisax too much, so that's to be said. Of course, as I said, it's very easy to be off base with this car, so it's not surely a skill issue, it's more of a mix of setups and what's not with these cars, and I know that personally. I know what it means to be off base with these cars. And that being said, we can see Martisax now getting onto the exit, onto the gas, and trying now maybe to chase after Lotus, although 16 seconds seems a little bit difficult to gain back in just 3 minutes. We move back to the broadcast camera as he touches the wall a little bit. And Lotus, once again, gained a little bit on Vigo, but it seems to be enough just to bother him for the time being. Still, 1.8 seconds. I wonder if that's due to the push to pass. We're gonna find out in the breaking point. He seems to have got that right this time, so maybe, just maybe, he's gonna be able to catch back for a last few laps shootout. That's gonna be difficult to see. We also have to wonder if Vigo is gonna pull some mistakes, which are likely. We saw him hit the wall here sometimes, not this time around. But as we saw, it's very easy to make mistakes, so nothing is yet decided. It's looking very much in favor of Vigo for the time being, of course, but until the race is over, nothing is written, so we have to wait and see if he's going to be able to do that or not. So, as both of them go onto the main straight, both the Red Bull liveried car and the red and blue and also white BMW of Lotus, we wait for the 2 minutes and 30 seconds to pass by and possibly to give us the end of the race, which is fast approaching. While that happens, we also have 2-3 lapping his teammate here. Once again, I don't think his teammate is gonna pull too much of a fight. Once again, it's pulling away, and now as he gets lapped 2 times, I think also that's due to the fact that he had a drive-through, if I remember correctly, for a false start infringement, which is quite easy to get for the wrong reasons. But yeah, once again, as he struggles his way through the pack, we look back at Lotus. As he drifts through the last corner, loses a bit of time from Vigo, and although DRS is able to get him a little bit back into the fight, surely it's not close enough once again for another attacking maneuver. Still trying as hard as possible, but still very difficult to get close to the car ahead, especially when battling. So onto the braking point here, onto the gas, no tank slapper this time, so very nicely onto the traction, and this time the gap is getting very close. Very close. I wonder if Vigo is struggling for another reason. Another thing I can think of course, is fuel, because, you know, you can't possibly refuel during a sprint. I mean, you can, but you lose an entire pit stop, and that's a little bit too much time. So I wonder if actually Vigo is having maybe some trouble with fuel. He's maybe lifting and coasting to get to the end. I think that's difficult to believe, but, you know, could be the reason he's lost a little bit of time on this lap. Actually, let's go more with the helmet cam. It's a little bit more cinematic. So 1 minute left, should be just another lap from the next one, so this should be the penultimate lap for both cars. And as the gap is down to 1.4 seconds, Lotus focused to try and get that position from Vigo, still proving not to be an easy task due to the fast nature of the Belgian driver. He's trying his best to get as close as possible to the walls in this section, but as you can see, getting too close also on the exit, very much on the limit, but still not enough to gain a significant advantage. One more lap, 1.3 seconds, he has just one push to pass, and at this point I think he's possibly gonna use it now, because, I mean, why wouldn't you at this point? It's all or nothing, so as he goes onto the DRS and possibly the push to pass, hard to tell, he's getting a little bit, but I don't think he's gonna be close enough to try a maneuver. Still, very much a nice effort to get back into the 1 second and 30 cents from the Belgian driver, but I think it's gonna be very difficult to conclude the maneuver. So as this happens, we move back to our leader as he goes through the end of sector 2 and possibly the last corner very soon. Thomas, winner of race number 1, winner of also round 1 if I remember correctly, rounds off the last corner 12 seconds ahead of Vigo and Lotus, and for the second time tonight he is a race winner. So here we go. Thomas, with the fastest lap on the last lap, wins the second race of round number 4 of the DTM challenge. Vigo holds on after a very tough battle with Lotus and finishes in P number 2. Lotus has to be content with the podium and finishes in P3. Then we wait 20 seconds for Martisax to get onto the finish straight. Also, we missed 2-3, getting very close to Martisax. Don't know how that happened, but still not close enough to make a significant dive, let's say, to get the position. So Martisax manages to get into P number 4, and right behind him we got 2-3 finishing in P number 5. Then of course Mikolai sadly lapped, ends in P6. And this is the end of this round, as we can see the death of both agile cars onto the exit of T number 1. We take a breath. Ooh, a big breath really, because this was one hell of a race, in my opinion, especially for the battle between Viggo and, of course, I was gonna say his teammate, but not really, and Lotus. And because of that, now we can finally say that this is over. And as people get a little bit shafted, as you can see, between each other, we wait to see if maybe we're gonna have some interview in the background. So, how to tell, of course, we're gonna see soon. I can see Lotus actually writing in the event chat. And while that happens, as you can see that Agile getting possibly a formation lap together to, you know, cheer this ending of the race, and yeah, likely they are doing exactly that. With also Viggo in the background trying to make a photo shoot, a photo bomb of this scene. They both go through the last corner, with Viggo now deciding to try and kill the the winning team, sadly with no effect. And so as both drivers drift a little bit, we get all the drivers getting out of the server, and Lotus also informs us that he missed the breaking point for that dive bomb. So yeah, no harm done. So we move back to, of course, to the we'll be right back thing. I'm gonna get the replay ready in the background, so maybe we can have some interviews. Hopefully, if Assetto Corsa decides that he can save the replays for the race. It seems like he can actually, which is amazing. He actually saved both races. That's something new for me. Never happened to me. Anyway, I'm gonna ask for interviews. I'm gonna back, of course, to the scene to see some racing. There you go. I'm gonna back here. Go back maybe to the cars. I'm gonna go to number 1. We should be the one with very little stuff. Actually, let's move back this thing here so we have nothing on the screen. And we wait, of course, for guys to get ready for some interviews. I'm gonna ask, of course, who wants to have some interviews. So we got Martisax and Thomas, I think, want to be interviewed. So we got... No, actually it's 2-3 who wants the interviews. Thomas decides that it does not want. I don't think I can... Oh, actually, can I move people? So, yeah, I think I'm gonna get Martisax up here, if I can. So... Actually, let's start with Thomas. I think it's the one I can disturb the most. So... Hello, Thomas.
Hello. Hello.
You are live on Twitch, once again.
Twitch?
Yeah. Exactly, the one where you see racing usually. And as I watched a little bit of a mishap you had on the race formation for race number 2, we first of all congratulate you, of course, for the winning of race number 1, race number 2, of course, and ask you, how was it?
Okay, thank you very much. I was extremely happy with the car today. I was able to make a very, very good setup. I'm sorry for the mishap the restart during the formation lap of race 2. I was trying to figure out a way to clear Arca's drive-throughs for jump start, but I couldn't. So that was why I was driving kind of erratically.
I mean, yeah. I could have guessed that, but yeah, that's what happens sometimes.
After last week at Spa, I was very keen on testing the car, figuring out a setup that was actually faster. So yeah, I'm glad I succeeded this week.
Yeah, surely, possibly either the setups or just the driving made a difference, because Viggo was absolutely trying his best to get close to you, but of course it seems that he was missing some tenths in ultimate pace to get, of course, close to the battle for the lead. But of course, that's little to be said, because the battle in the end ended up being in your favor, and that's surely to your delight, to say the least. So, of course, nice for you to win here, and also in Imola, if I remember correctly, you won as well. And with that being said, now there's just one round left, which should be the Nordschleife, actually the Nürburgring, not the Rushlife. That would be a little bit of an infernal race, really. Yeah, that would be very infernal, but just one final race, an endurance one. And what do you look forward for that race? Do you have something ready already, or do you have to still lap the car and the track and everything?
I have had some testing time at the Nürburgring already. Honestly, I have not developed a setup for the race yet. I know it's going to be a crucial one because this is going to be the title decider. Me and Vigo are exact same on points. We both won 2 races and got P2 in another race. So yeah, this is going to be quite a tough one, and I will spend a lot of time practicing.
Very, very nice. So, with a tough road ahead, of course, we can just wish you luck and, of course, see you around for the next round, which I'm not sure if I'm going to be commentating. I think I'm going to be a little bit busy next week, but that's of course a problem for next week. So, that being said, thank you once again for your interview. And, well, if you can actually send yourself people into the interviewing room, because otherwise I don't know who is going to be, of course, ready to get interviewed. That would be, of course, very nice. So, that being said, thank you, Thomas, and see you around for the next round. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So, with Thomas out of the commentator room, we wait, of course, if he can actually send someone into the interviewing room to be, of course, as you may have guessed by the name, interviewed, let's say. So, we got Arca. Hello there.
Hello.
So, how you doing? Had fun this race?
Was good. Quite funny for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'll be honest, I haven't been able to watch the past races by myself because I've been busy. So this was the first time commentating. So I don't know if you have any history in the championship, but surely this hopefully was a fun experience.
Yeah, it was quite fun. Because I'm not that good, so first race I was the last. They passed me by two laps. So second race I was the first. I still managed to jump start while I was leading. Good starting race. But I didn't check the pit lane penalty, so I got disqualified.
I mean, I kind of feel for you because, to be completely honest, I took part in the race last week, which was in Spa, and I got a drive-through on the start as well, so I know how it is, how easy it is. So don't worry about that too much. Plus I also know how difficult these cars are really to drive. They are very understeery, and it's very easy to extract. Very hard to extract all the performance. So all that matters really is that you had fun in all of this. That's, I think, the best thing, of course.
Yeah.
And
really.
yeah, sorry.
No. We have great teammates in the vocal. We're just laughing and just laughing between us.
Yes, very nice. And the only thing, of course, I wanted to ask is, of course, next week is going to be the, let's say, the season finale, the last race of this season, which is going to be in the Nürburgring, the GP variant, I think, the one with the hard chicane. So, of course, the one thing I want to ask is, are you going to be there? Are you gonna be racing there as well?
I hope so. If there anything, I hope I will be there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in that case, I look forward, of course, to look at you, and kinda, I think it's gonna be possibly I look forward to actually fighting with you on track, because possibly I will be racing there as well, so...
That would be great.
That'd be absolutely crazy, so yeah, hopefully we'll see we'll see you, of course, on the tarmac, on the race, when the time will be. And that being said, well, I don't know really, do you want to say something on the live stream? Whatever you want, really.
Yeah, thank you for that championship, it was quite fun. And see you next week.
Absolutely nice. So, thank you for having you. Thank you. Thank you in general for having you here. And, well, have fun for both this race and the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, now we wait. After that was Arca, of course, if you didn't catch it. We wait for the next driver in line to get, of course, an interview done. Don't know who is it gonna be, who Thomas is gonna send up here. We're gonna find out quite soon, likely. Also, I don't know if on the stream you can see the race. Yeah, the replay is on. And we got Marty Sachs. Hello, Marty Sachs. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine.
So,
I drove as well as I could. I'm happy with what I got.
absolutely. So I'll be honest, I can't remember if you got the podium. I think you got the podium on race 1, if I remember correctly, and then P4 in race number 2. So very solid results, I got to say. And yeah, as I said to the driver before and so on, these are very tricky cars to drive, and this looks also like a very tricky racetrack to drive on. So that being said, how was your experience in general? How did you feel with the car and with the track?
I actually found myself surprised with the consistency I was putting up on this track, because there's not many corners, but there's a lot of time you can make up with deciding like where to focus on an exit or the corner shape you take. But it was kind of easy. It's not that bad, just if you are careful on throttle, I'd say.
Yeah, I saw very much a lot of power sliding, you know, traction loss and so on, especially in the slow corners, which I mean it's basically every corner on this track. So I kind of felt how difficult it was to get some of the time on some of the section, but I think that made the race a little bit more exciting, especially for on the front. And yeah, first of all, of course, congratulations for the podium in race 1. That has of course to be said. And overall, I think, yeah, that was a very nice race, and it was very close between you, Lotus also, and E23, especially in qualifying.
Lotus in the first race, he was very close because I had a 1 second penalty, and at the end of the race, he was 1.5 seconds away or so. So I really had to be careful at the end there to not make any mistakes.
Yeah, we coached. Sorry.
Yeah, the second race, I had a bit of an incident, being that my Logitech wheel ripped off my table, and I use it as like a brace to brake with the hard-ass Logitech pedal, right? So I basically couldn't brake. I don't think I punted anyone, but I was in shambles racing while trying to reattach it, and I pit maneuvered 2-3 in the first corner, so I gotta apologize for that.
I mean, that can happen, but I think we saw some different offenses, and really, all in all, I think everything went quite fine, especially on the point of view, and I think it can actually excuse the fact that, you know, the braking pedal wasn't really working too well, so maybe that's already a bit of an explanation for what happened. But still, it was a very nice race from your point of view. It was very nice, and as I said to all the drivers before, next one is gonna be Nürburgring, as we saw before. So another long race, another difficult one, and a lot of you know, preparation to be done. So how are you feeling for the next one?
I'm really excited for that one. I wasn't a big fan of the Nürburgring because there's a better, bigger, more fun circuit like 20 meters from it.
Yeah.
But I was trying it out earlier today, and it's actually really fun once I figure out some of the corners. So I'm excited. It's gonna be interesting.
Hopefully it is. You know, Nürburgring is known for creating some nice racing, especially in the stadium section. So all I can say really is I look up, of course, to look up to you and you know, actually race with you there, because as I said before, I'm gonna be racing on the Nürburgring as well as a wildcard. So it's gonna be nice, and hopefully it's gonna be an exciting race, as exciting as it was here, especially for the battle we had ahead in some places of the track. So that being said, happy to know that you enjoyed your race here. Happy to know that you had the podium, and of course congratulations for that. Mm-hmm. And with all the great points you brought, of course, to the glorious Agile team. Of course, I'm not biased as a commentator, as you may have noticed. We, of course, wait for you for the next race. So have a good one.
Okay, yippee and bye bye.
Bye bye. And that was, of course, Marty Sachs. I got a ping from Vico. So yeah, I know that. And of course, I think Vico is gonna be the next one, likely. Let's have a look.
No, it's
2-3 actually, and they're asking me to show the P2 and P3 battle on the replay. I'm gonna do that because Vico, of course, has complete monopoly on the stream. But that being said, of course, 2-3. Welcome once again to the commentator room.
Hello.
And first thing I want to ask, of course, is did you have fun? Was it a nice race from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, in the first place, I'm not as fast as other guys, so I'm here to have fun. First of all, yeah, I had a fun. It was a bit lonely, especially the first race. Second race, I had a chance, but in the end, I bottled it. So I had fun. Yes, it was a fun race.
Well, I mean,
For
look
me,
look
at
at the
least.
bright side. Look at the bright side. As you said in the chat for the stream before, you know, P5 is still a P5 despite everything. So good points after all. So
Yeah, good points though. If I remember correctly, we started with what 20 people. 20 people. Now on this race was like what 7, 8. So it's not the same value as it was on the race 1, but yeah, it's still P5. It's still the best result of the season. So yeah.
I mean, despite everything, I think it's a good thing. And also another thing, I think it's quite underrated. I personally think sometimes it's better just to be alone on the racetrack and, you know, pull out your lap times instead of, you know, being constantly chasing someone, or even worse, being chased by someone very close. So at least under that point of view, we should look at the bright side, which is the fact that possibly it was a almost relaxing race under some point of views, I hope. So yeah, if you think about that.
Yeah, it was. It's good to have a clear track ahead of me. I could focus on the car itself. I think I got a chance to understand it a bit more. So in the race 2, I did like only 2 mistakes, and the first race was like 10 mistakes. So that helped for sure. Yeah, it's just it's just a shame because in the end it was 1.5 second behind Marty Zax. So it's always behind the head. Maybe if I didn't make this mistake or that mistake, I could have been ahead of him. He also had an incident, like he said earlier. So yeah.
I mean, look at the bright side. Usually, Murray Walker used to say for Formula 1 that Formula 1 is just if written backwards. DTM written backwards is something like MTD, so I don't know if it means the same thing. But the good thing is, of course, what is done is done.
It's so
so, so the good thing is that, I mean, after all, yeah, you can wonder all day if I did that wrong, right, better. In the end of the day, what is done is done, and I think, despite everything, the good thing is that you had fun on the track, of course. And I mean, the good thing, once again, another good thing is the fact that it was quite a relaxing race, and despite, of course, maybe missing a position, still, it's good points, and it's gonna help, of course, for the season finale, which is gonna be, of course, the next race at the Nürburgring. And the same thing I asked, of course, all the guys before, sorry, was, of course, how are you looking forward for the next race, for the last one?
Nürburgring isn't really my track. I always had some issue with it. My teammate also won't be present, sadly. But yeah, I look forward to it. I hope more people will show up. And now that's because it's not a normal track. I think everyone knows it. So I have good hopes. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll manage to borrow someone's setup for the race, because I can't really do setups at all. If I manage to do so, then hell yeah, let's go. I mean, after all, it's always important to appreciate small things. So if you have fun, I don't care. If I have fun, I can be even P12, as long as I think I actually drove a good race. I don't really care.
Actually, I don't remember correctly. I have to check back on the chat. Was it with you that I had a wheel-to-wheel battle in Spa? I'm not sure, because I remember I had...
Yeah.
I think I had a little bit of a fight with you, so yeah.
Yeah, it was a big battle, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice little wheel-to-wheel, but once again, we were fighting basically for the last few positions, and in the end, it was a little bit of a fun little fight we had, so all in all, really, what that matters is that sometimes... even in dire situations, we can find some fun. So even here, even the next race or whatever it is, hopefully we can find some positives to find. And that being said, also I'll be racing in Nürburgring as well, so hopefully we're gonna have some will-to-will once again somewhere in the field. So,
Oh, I hope so.
oh, I absolutely
Maybe
look forward.
somewhere towards the front of the pack this time.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Don't worry. I'm gonna carry both of us to towards the front. So somehow we're gonna find a way through.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually we'll find a way into the top. I don't know, top 2, let's say, to be optimistic. But to be said that, once we said that, yeah, it was of course nice to have you in the commentator room here, which is of course the interview room, but whatever. And yeah, hopefully I wish you luck for the next round in the Nürburgring. And if you want to say anything on the stream, well, this is your occasion.
Nothing special really. I just want to thank you, of course, and thank all the guys, the racing in TSRB, because it's a nice change from normal multiplayer lobby in racing games. You know, you can feel the step up. So that's what I'm thankful for. I can race here, so I'm fine with it. Yeah, thank you. That's all.
Fantastic. So that being said, thank to you, of course, to Tree for the interview, and see you soon, I guess. Bye bye.
See you on the Nürburgring. Bye.
Bye bye. And that was, of course, to Tree for the, I think, penultimate interview. I'm not sure if Vico's gonna want to be interviewed or not. We're gonna find out soon if he gets sent here into the interview room, or if Thomas decides that he does not want other people to be interviewed. We're gonna find out soon. Either way, we're gonna... Actually, I think I'm gonna ask directly. Any more? If not, then I think I'm gonna just do the closing rituals for the stream, and then of course leave you all to, I don't know, whatever you're doing in on a Sunday night. Hopefully something productive or something nice. I think I'm gonna eat cake quite soon because 2 AM is fast approaching, and I don't want to go for the alternative, which you may know what it is. But yeah, that being said, I think we're good. I think I'm gonna ask Thomas just to be sure. Just to be completely sure. So as soon as I get confirmation, then I think we are good to go. I'm just gonna wait, of course. And you are stuck here with me for the confirmation, if that ever happens. I'm getting no confirmation, which is a little sad, of course, but that's alright. Let's actually have a look, because Thomas, of course, wanted me to show something onto the stream. I don't know how I should do that. Maybe if I download the video, I can maybe show that on stream. So if you give me a second, I'll be able. Also, get a confirmation. No one else is want an interview, so I'm gonna try and show the video he sent me somewhat onto the stream. So I'm gonna try something. Let me see. Oh, actually, I just noticed that I was showing the entire sidebar for Assetto Corsa, so my bad on that. So I think I can do something like this, plus capture finestra, può essere, sì, video. Okay, so should be. Okay, let me try and open it some way. It's just a little bit of a technical issue, don't worry about that too much. That can happen sometimes. It's what happens when friends find a way to send you video to show on stream, so that's what I'm gonna do, as I promised to.
It's probably gonna be the best can.
I ain't watching because I'm
I think you're hearing the audio of what he sent me, so my bad on that as well. So select the thing. I think it is... Why can I... Can you see that, please? This one is the thing, okay. I think I can, yeah. Okay, so this is the video that Thomas sent me and said you should show this onto the stream, so I don't know what it is. Hopefully it's nothing that will get the stream banned, but likely not, because, you know... Oh, and VLC apparently cannot be showed on stream, so thank you for whatever, I guess. So, yeah, this is not gonna work out as I thought. This is embarrassing from my point of view, but I guess I'll find a way. I'll find a way. Don't worry, lads. I'll find a way. Just be patient. Be patient. Be patient. I'll do it somehow. Maybe like this? Nah, not like this, okay. Maybe like this. It's gonna be, of course, be very awkward on stream.
It's probably gonna be.
Okay, once again, you word that words once more. So, capture fine, okay, capture this, capture that, like this. Okay, finally, I managed to do something worthwhile. So, I'm gonna put this one on the center of the stream. I'm gonna close Assetto Corsa in the background. There you go. And this is the video that Thomas wanted me to show.
I ain't watching because I'm driving. Da-na-na-na-na-na. There's something inside you.
This is such a funny replay. This is such a funny replay. Oh god, I've got to.
Well, and this with these wise words from some driver from past season on Norisring, we can actually say goodbye to everyone. It was nice having you here. Hopefully. Hope you had fun. And with these words, we'll see you next week. Bye bye.